Chapter 1926. This woman is indeed aggressive. After looking carefully for a while, Xiao Ximing also noticed the difference. Is that so? You've finally noticed. Don't say that I've been charmed by her in the future. Dustless breathed a sigh of relief. Women are unusually troublesome when they're stuck in a dead end. After sorting out his thoughts, just as he was about to explain in detail, Xiao Ximing's words almost made Dustless fall out of the window in anger. This Tianzong Xiaoming is really doing things her own way. Someone else is getting married, but she, as an invited guest, didn't even take the betrothal gift. Is the Tianzong of Taoism so unreasonable? Xiao Ximing wrinkled her nose, looking even more dissatisfied. Especially when Xiaoming was casually rampaging through the Yinyang school's territory, Xiao Ximing was somewhat against it. Betrothal gift? I couldn't tell that you're a little money grubber. Dustless didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Staring at Xiaoming, who seemed to be wandering around, he explained. Do you see the sword in her hand? The problem lies with the sword. Sword. Hearing Ji Hao, Xiao Ximing carefully observed the sword held in Xiaoming's hand, then said in surprise, I heard that Xiaoming's sword is called Autumn Lily, which is ranked number 9 in the sword book. Why is it now ranked number 6, Snow? Could it be that Xiaoming defeated Xiao Yaozi and regained control of Clear Snow? I don't know. Dustless shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. In the original work, Clear Snow had always been controlled by Xiao Yaozi of human sect. Now that it was taken by Xiaoming, there was only one possibility. To a certain extent, Xiao Yaozi might have been killed by Xiaoming. Of course, nothing is absolute. Squinting his eyes, Wu Qin continued, Xiaoming is a very strange person. Her character is unpredictable. Perhaps she has made some kind of deal with Xiao Raozi, and it is also possible that she used snow calming as the exchange condition. But the trivial matters of Taoism have nothing to do with us. Act according to the plan. After killing Fu Nian, blame it on Zhang Liang. Fu Su and Li Si are all here. Now is a good opportunity to ruin Zhang Liang's reputation. It's a pity to let it go. Dustless's eyes glowed with a ferocious light as his gaze finally landed on Fu Nian's head. Where's Master Zichen? In the gold and jade hall, Fu Su sat in the main seat. After seeing Dustless was absent, he could not help but look at Moon God and ask, in such an important occasion, where is the master? This? Moon God hesitated. She didn't know what Dustless was doing, so she said, maybe he's preparing for the wedding. What a pity. Right at this moment, Xiaoming spoke abruptly. That kid ran away the last time we discussed the Tao using words. He probably won't refuse this time, right? Everyone frowned when they heard this. Today was someone else's wedding day, yet Xiaoming wanted to discuss the Tao with the sword. Was this appropriate? It was clearly a slap in the face. Jiejie. On the other hand, Zhao Gao and Li Si were rather excited. They revealed gloating smiles. Xiaoming of the Heaven sect of Taoism. She is indeed an unpredictable character. If I remember correctly, she should be the helper Dustless found by Fu Su. Why would she make things difficult for Dustless? Zhang Liang was also extremely confused, but there was an obvious smile on his face. He looked rather happy. Those who didn't want the Yinyang school and Confucian school to form an alliance through marriage were extremely happy. After all, Xiaoming was clearly looking for trouble with Dustless. Wasn't this slapping the Yinyang school and Confucian school in the face? Sigh. I can only hope that Master Zichen is safe. Fu Su was also extremely helpless about this. Xiaoming was an extraordinary person. It was already good enough that she agreed to help him. As for restraining her, Fu Su had never thought about it. What was worth mentioning was that Xiaoming wasn't invited to this wedding. She came completely uninvited, so she came empty-handed. She even threatened to cause trouble for Dustless. I am very grateful that everyone is willing to honor me with your presence. The deadlocked atmosphere was broken by this silent newcomer. Everyone followed the source of the commotion. And what entered their eyes was Wu Qin. His bright pupils were full of radiance, and he was brimming with vigor. You came at the right time. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to find you. When Xiaoming saw Dustless appear, her right hand was already holding Snow Dawn. It looked like she was about to attack immediately. You're in such a hurry to humiliate yourself? Noticing that Xiaoming was staring at him as if he was her prey, Dustless glanced at Moon Goddess. The latter immediately nodded. This is the Yin-Yang school. If you want to attack, let me do it. Moon God calmly met Xiaoming's gaze without any fear. As the right protector of the Yin-Yang school, Moon God had no need to fear Xiaoming, even if she was the head of the Heaven sect. I'm here to discuss the Tao with the people of Confucianism. You're not my prey. Xiaoming only glanced at Moon God and ignored her. Her gaze finally fell on Dustless's head. You're also not my prey. Dustless complained in his heart. He wanted to kill Funyan. As for Xiaoming, she was really not interested and did not have the slightest intention to fight. How about this? Dustless chuckled and looked at Zhang Liang with evil intentions. His face was full of evil smiles. What kind of trick does this guy have? Seeing Dustless's teasing expression, Zhang Liang's indifferent face, which originally wanted to watch a good show, suddenly collapsed. Every time he walked together with Dustless, he seemed to be innocently attacked. Chapter 1927. This damn thing. Zhang Liang wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Dustless's indifferent face was adorned with a faint smile, perhaps because he saw the pain in his heart. Zifang, you will represent the Confucian school to exchange a few moves with Master Xiaoming. Dustless finally opened his mouth and deliberately emphasized the word, Confucian school. This cunning and insidious guy, he did it on purpose. Zhang Liang's face was extremely gloomy and kept changing. He naturally knew that Dustless was tricking him, but he had no suitable reason to refute. If it was for Dustless himself, Zhang Liang could still refuse, but saying that it was for the Confucian school was equivalent to indirectly blocking Zhang Liang's path of retreat. If it was for Dustless, he could retreat, but if it was for the Confucian school, even if there were hungry wolves and fierce tigers in front of him, Zhang Liang would still bite the bullet. You win. After secretly glaring at Dustless, Zhang Liang could only helplessly stand up. It's your honor to sacrifice a little for me. You should be grateful. Dustless smiled without saying anything, looking at the depressed Zhang Liang, his cheeks sour. Master Xiaoming. Zhang Liang stood up very elegantly, bowed slightly to Xiaoming, and then cupped his fists. Zhang Liang of the Confucian school, please. No need. However, the sad thing was that before Zhang Liang could say the word teach, he was directly interrupted by the indifferent Xiaoming. After sweeping a glance at him, he was instantly disappointed. A mere ordinary disciple of the Confucian school dares to fight with me. Are you humiliating me? Xiaoming's words were sarcastic, looking at the silent Funyan with extreme dissatisfaction. Funyan felt a headache. If it was in the past, it would naturally be fine. But it was different now. A long time ago, Zhang Liang's identity had been stripped by Funyan, and the current third head of the Confucian school had become Dustless. As for Zhang Liang's current identity, he was just an ordinary disciple of the Confucian school. Although his strength was not bad, his identity and status were 1,000 miles away from Xiaoming. Funyan had to call Xiaoming senior when he saw him, which was enough to show how high this guy's seniority was. He was of the same level as Sun Zi, and Zhang Liang's identity was not suitable. Aren't you looking down on me too much? Zhang Liang was secretly depressed. He was extremely dissatisfied with Xiaoming in his heart. Her words earlier were equivalent to mocking him in front of everyone, saying that his status was not qualified. Even with Zhang Liang's character, his expression took a turn for the worse. However, this was not the worst. Zhang Liang, you don't deserve to fight me. When Xiaoming's sudden words came out of her mouth, Zhang Liang, who had suffered a huge blow, discovered that the way others looked at him had undergone a huge change. They were all filled with all sorts of disdain and undisguised disdain. Zhang Liang wanted nothing more than to find a hole in the ground to hide in after being told that he wasn't fit to fight. No matter what, his family had been prime ministers for 5 generations. Now he had completely lost face. That's enough. You can leave now, Zifang. At this moment, Dustless suddenly looked at Zhang Liang with a look of disdain. That hateful gaze clearly revealed the meaning. What's the use of having you? This bastard will be struck to death by lightning sooner or later. Zhang Liang even had the thought of dying. His fists were tightly clenched. It seemed like he would start a fight at any moment. This fellow purposely let me come out to be humiliated by Xiao Meng. Zhang Liang's face turned black and extremely ugly. He finally understood Dustless's scheme. Xiao Meng's intention this time was naturally dustless. She had asked Zhang Liang to come out and brush her off. Naturally, the other party would not give her a good face. As for why Xiao Meng came for Dustless, Zhang Liang guessed that it was because the school of Yinyang was still a part of the school of Taoism a few hundred years ago. Both sides had a great origin. Now the school of Yinyang was far more famous than the other schools of thought, including the school of Taoism. As the legal successor of the school of Taoism, Xiao Meng was naturally dissatisfied. The arrogant Xiao Meng probably wanted to use this opportunity to test the strength of the school of Yinyang. Her original intention was to use the school of Yinyang. Dustless's identity was undoubtedly the most suitable. In the past, he was a disciple of the Confucian school. Now he was the husband of the school of Yinyang. It was undoubtedly the most suitable to use him to slap her face and establish her prestige. This fellow knew from the beginning that Xiao Meng came for the school of Yinyang. Therefore, he purposely let me come out to provoke Xiao Meng. He will only be satisfied after being humiliated by her in public. Despicable Dustless. Zhang Liang's heart was bleeding. Unknowingly, he had been tricked by Dustless again. In the end, Master Xiao Meng still wants to challenge me. Dustless looked at Xiao Meng with a helpless expression. In the end he agreed. You can compete with me. However, what should I do if I lose? A competition is a competition. If you don't dare to, you don't dare to. Why are you asking what should I do if I lose? Could it be that you don't dare to? That's right. Xiao Meng nodded when she heard this. She looked at Dustless calmly and said, Are you trying to raise conditions? It doesn't matter. As long as you can win, I can promise you anything. You are so confident. Looking at the calm Xiao Meng, Dustless couldn't help but have a whole new level of respect for her. He looked at Xiao Meng's sword and said, How about this? After you lose, you will hand over your snow calmness to me. How dare you? Without waiting for Xiao Meng to speak, Li Si, who had been scheming to take revenge on Dustless, took the initiative to attack. Do you know what this sword is? It represents the school of Taoism. It doesn't matter. Unexpectedly, Xiao Meng decisively slapped Li Si and agreed. If you can win, I can give it to you. This is the privilege of the winner. You should have the right to give it to the loser. This damned woman. I even spoke up for her. She doesn't know what's good for her. Seeing this, Li Si was incomparably depressed. Xiao Meng was too quick to add insult to injury. Chapter 1928. Straightforward. This was also within Dustless's expectations. In reality, he'd also guessed that Xiao Meng would agree. This fellow was indifferent to fame and fortune, and he was straightforward in nature. He was a true cultivator who could turn a deaf ear to everything and see through everything very clearly. Perhaps the so-called Xueji was just a piece of scrap metal in her eyes. The key was that the meaning behind it was different. I wonder what Master Meng wants to compete in. Dustless was very calm. Zhang Liang, who was watching at the side, gritted his teeth. It was completely different from his embarrassing appearance just now. To a certain extent, Zhang Liang's humiliating behavior had already thrown the face of the Confucian school. After all, he was a member of the Confucian school. After glancing at Fu Nian, Zhang Liang found that this senior brother, who had hidden his strength, was also staring at him intently. His eyes were also full of blame. I have to find a suitable way to solve the current predicament, Zhang Liang whispered to himself. All along, he had been tricked by Dustless and lost all his face. If he didn't find a suitable way to reverse the current predicament, even the group of people from the Mo family would look down on him. That's right. Zhang Liang's eyes lit up as a light flashed in his eyes. He was overjoyed. Li Si seems to hate Dustless. Zhao Gao is also the same. They can be used as tools. In an instant, a perfect plan appeared in his mind. Zhang Liang's deeply shocked expression returned to normal. What does Master want to compete in? Dustless stared at Xiao Meng's eyes and asked. If Master wants to compete in poetry and history, then I will admit defeat. To be honest, I am illiterate. You are magnanimous. You are the opposite of those hypocrites. It suits my taste. Hearing this, Xiaoming looked at Dustless in a new light. As a disciple of the Confucian school and the third master, he was illiterate. This was definitely the biggest weirdo in the history of the Confucian school. However, Dustless's attitude of directly admitting it made Xiaoming look at him in a new light. I won't bully you. Xiaoming glanced at Dustless and said, since that is the case, let's have a competition of inner strength. That shouldn't be a problem, right? Inner force? Hearing this, Dustless's face stiffened. He remembered that in the original work, the content of the competition between Xiaoming and Fu Nian was the depth of their internal force. Who would have thought that it would fall on him now? Master, the depth of one's inner strength doesn't mean anything. Why don't we do it this way? Let's be more direct. Let's compete with swords. Dustless said calmly. He didn't understand inner strength at all. No. Zhao Gao was the first to step out. He knew how terrifying Dustless's strength was. If they were to compete with swords, he would lose without a doubt. Therefore, he had to stop the competition. Master Xiaoming is a transcendent being. She is too pedantic when it comes to swordsmanship. Zhao Gao gave a lame excuse. His lips trembled, and when he was about to continue speaking, Dustless's words made Zhao Gao's face turn red. This is a matter between me and Master Xiaoming. Who are you to interrupt? Dustless glanced at him. That contemptuous look in his eyes quietly said, you are just a eunuch. Why do you have so much to say? You. Hearing this, Zhao Gao didn't show his anger on the surface, but in his heart, he hated Dustless to the core. The beautiful jade in his hand was crushed into pieces by him. Moreover, you are obviously abusing Master Xiaoming. Master Xiaoming's sword is Qiuli, which is ranked 9th in the sword book. Now Xueji, which is ranked 6th, is also in her hands. Obviously she is a master of swords. Yet you said that swordsmanship is too pedantic? Dustless caught Zhao Gao's faulty wording and hit the nail on the head. Zhao Gao stared at Dustless dumbfoundedly and said angrily in his heart, this kid has a sharp tongue. His eloquence is much better than his strength. I am not his opponent. It had to be said that Dustless had already displayed the power of a gentleman uses his mouth and not his fists to the limit. Let's have a swordsmanship competition. Xiaoming didn't talk nonsense. To her, there wasn't much difference between a swordsmanship competition and a competition of inner strength. On the contrary, the former could show a person's strength more. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A clear sound rang out, and a cold light pierced towards Dustless's face. This woman. Seeing this, Dustless frowned slightly and slandered in his heart. She didn't even give me a chance to announce the start of the competition. Does this woman want to defeat me so badly? But, seeing the sharp light coming towards him, Dustless was calm and composed. He tilted his head slightly and dodged the fatal cold light. Their reactions are quite fast. Slight ripples appeared in his calm eyes. Since she didn't make any substantial progress with her first move, Xiaoming suddenly performed a fish dragon tail swing. Her swordsmanship seemed to be very skilled. Xueji was accompanied by a layer of light that could be seen by the naked eye, and it swept towards him from the left, just as it was about to reach Dustless's neck. Poochie. Everyone was shocked when they saw Dustless's neck being crushed with one strike. This Xiaoming is so powerful? She managed to heavily injure Dustless with just 2 simple moves? Everyone looked at each other and looked at Xiaoming in shock. They were all dumbfounded. Dustless's strength was so strong that he could definitely be called the number 1 in the Confucian school. However, he had been heavily injured by Xiaoming so easily. However, it didn't take long for these people to realize that they were wrong. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The skin that Xiaoming touched did not show any signs of bleeding. Instead, it strangely glowed with a faint light. Then, under everyone's shocked gazes, it instantly recovered. This is Soul Dragon Swim? The moon goddess was also dumbfounded when she saw this. She was a little stunned. She didn't know that Dustless knew the Yin-Yang School's profound move, Soul Dragon Swim. Chapter 1929. The moon goddess was in a daze, and her body was stiff. She did not expect Dustless to have such an ability. The soul dragon was a profound technique of the school of Inyang. Outsiders could not learn it, and even some people from the school of Inyang did not know it. The only people who knew it were the moon goddess, concubine Yen, Xinghun, and Yuer. However, after looking at it carefully for a while, the moon goddess realized that something was not right. Dustless's body suddenly exploded with a gorgeous golden light. It contained an extremely fatal temperature, and it seemed to be able to melt steel. It was fundamentally different from the school of Inyang's soul dragon. People from the school of Confucianism even know the techniques of the school of Inyang? This is the first time I've heard of it. Xiaoming sighed, but her expression revealed a hint of sarcasm. Or, Confucianism is good at talking? Do they only know how to use the techniques of other sects? Ha ha ha. Hearing this, Dustless only laughed calmly and replied, "It doesn't matter what technique it is. As long as it can defeat you, it's a good technique." You are very confident. Xiaoming blinked her eyes, and her figure suddenly became a little illusory. Swish swish swish. For some reason, Xiaoming's figure suddenly floated, and a wisp of ethereal aura seeped out of her body. She only took a simple step, but it felt like she had crossed a few meters in an instant. This Xiaoming is indeed different. She is so young, but she has already mastered the light and dust technique. Moreover, she has reached the wonderful level of familiarity. The moon goddess muttered to herself. She looked at Xiaoming's tender face and could not help but praise her. Some people were poor their whole lives and still could not master a profound mental technique like light and dust. Swish swish swish. In an instant, the sharp blade pierced toward Dustless again. The tip of the sword was very tricky, and it seemed like it could turn. There was no way to escape, and it was about to pierce through Dustless's head. This Xiaoming is ruthless. She wants to kill me with every move. When did I offend her? Dustless stared at the cold and gloomy face. He was very troubled. Buzz buzz buzz. Although Dustless was puzzled, he still reacted for the first time. His body released a golden light. Compared to the speed of the glint fruit, any mental technique or footwork in this world was weak. Poochie. The tip of Daybreak Dream's sword pierced through Dustless's head. It happened so quickly that it was difficult to capture. Ordinary people would not have been able to see it clearly before Dustless was insta-killed. Your reaction is too slow. Xiaoming muttered softly. She exerted force with her slender hand, and the instant she pulled out Snow Dawn from Dustless's head, a wave of indescribable ripples appeared in the air. Then Dustless, who had been pierced by Xiaoming, suddenly dispersed like a reflection in water. This sudden scene made everyone's jaws drop. People like Fu Su and Li Si, who were not proficient in martial arts, had no idea what was going on and were at a loss. This is an afterimage? Zhao Gao exclaimed in surprise, his face filled with unconcealable shock. It's not a Confucian movement technique either. Fu Nian and Zhang Yin both frowned. Their Confucian school didn't have such profound martial arts to turn their bodies into afterimages that didn't disperse. Only when they were attacked would they disappear with the wind, which could be used to confuse the enemy. This guy, seeing this, Xiaoming's expression changed slightly, becoming slightly gloomy. Not to mention others, even she, the person involved, didn't know how Dustless did it. His body turned into nothingness, gathering like a shadow and not dispersing, reaching the level of being able to pass off as real. This sounded simple, but who could do it? Swish swish swish. At the same time, a sharp sound of breaking through the air suddenly came, pouncing into one's ears. A fatal danger suddenly descended, and Xiaoming, who realized that something was wrong, once again activated the profound footwork of light and dust. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Xiaoming's voice once again became illusory. On the surface, it looked like she had taken a simple step, but in reality, it was different. She had actually retreated more than 10 meters in an instant. With such profound footwork, it will be difficult for Zichen to win. Fu Nian's heart was incomparably gloomy. To be honest, he was also shocked by Xiaoming's strength. Light and dust was such a profound footwork that was difficult to control. But Xiaoming had reached the familiarized proficiency realm. How could he not be shocked? Not to mention anything else, just in this short instant, Xiaoming had retreated more than 10 meters with profound footwork, avoiding Dustless's attack. This speed was really too fast. If you can't even catch up with others, how can you fight? All your efforts are in vain. The profoundness of light and dust is not something you can understand. Light and dust, deep and indistinct. It can achieve the effect of shifting positions, so how can you deal with me? Xiaoming muttered softly, then raised her gaze and looked at Dustless, but found that he had become mysterious again, disappearing from her sight. It was extremely strange. Where did this brat run to? Xiaoming frowned, her gaze spread out, looking through the limpid autumn water, looking for Dustless's trace. Usually when you say such words, the enemy is usually behind you. A tone full of ridicule resounded behind Xiaoming. How is it possible? Upon seeing this, Xiaoming's expression changed drastically, faster than flipping a book. She suddenly turned her head, and what came into her sight was Dustless's playful face and the sword tip pointing at her throat. Are you surprised? Seeing Xiaoming's shocked expression, Dustless explained faintly, no matter how profound the light and dust footwork is, in the final analysis, it's just a shadow chasing after light. To put it bluntly, it's just a shadow following behind. And I'm the shining person who ate the shining fruit, the embodiment of light. How dare you play with speed in front of me? Do you know how ridiculous and foolish it is to play with a big axe in front of Lu Ban? Dustless's face was full of ridicule, and he didn't care about Xiaoming's pale face at all. She didn't understand what the shining fruit was. Chapter 1930. The glint fruit could turn the host into a glint of light and could unleash the speed of light. Its greatest advantage was its speed. Xiaoming's dust with the light was naturally much slower. Of course, Xiaoming couldn't be blamed for this. Who asked her to find an opponent who often cheated? Glint fruit. The moon god lowered her head. Her eyes shone with a strange light as she muttered to herself. Could it be that the magma fruit that Great Sea Ming told me the other time is the same as this glint fruit? The moon god's eyes were filled with desire. Ever since Dustless gave the magma fruit to Great Sea Ming, her strength had undergone an earth-shattering change. The moon god had seen the destructive power of the magma fruit with her own eyes. It was simply beyond the scope of human knowledge. So what if you are fast? Xiaoming snorted. She was extremely dissatisfied with Dustless's attitude. He had only won one round. Did he have to be so proud? At least you can't reach it. Dustless chuckled. His words made Xiaoming speechless. Dustless was obviously provoking Xiaoming on purpose. He purposely chose the most unpleasant words. Brat, you will regret this. Although Xiaoming's face was still as indifferent as before, her eyes were filled with bone-piercing cold light. Obviously, Dustless had angered this cold lady. Swish, 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 swish. Her figure became illusory again. Xiaoming was like a shadow in the wind. Her body instantly drifted away like a breeze and disappeared from Dustless's eyes. Fast speed doesn't mean anything. After distancing herself from Dustless, Xiaoming stared at Dustless's faint smile. She felt extremely annoyed and uncomfortable. Especially that confident look in his eyes. Xiaoming felt that he was a thorn in her side. It was the biggest provocation to her. Dustless's confidence was looking down on her. Let me show you the true unique skill of the Sky Sect. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Xiaoming took out her sword from the scabbard and put it back into the scabbard. Instead, she raised her right arm and made a strange gesture. Buzz buzz buzz. A mysterious energy fluctuation quietly erupted from Xiaoming's body. It instantly invaded the surrounding space. Prepare to die. She glanced at Dustless with contempt. Her eyes were emotionless. Perhaps in Xiaoming's eyes, Dustless was a corpse. Heaven and earth lose color. Just as its name suggested, the space around Dustless lost its color. Everything turned grayish-white. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment, as if time had stopped. I heard her say that this move is called, Heaven and Earth Lose Color. Not bad, right? Dustless whispered. He knew a thing or two about heaven and earth paling, which could make everything around him slow down infinitely. Just like the current situation, it was like a small independent world. The Taoist human sex rejuvenation of all things could counter Xiaoming's heaven and earth losing color. Buzz buzz buzz. Right at this moment, a wisp of a ripple appeared in the gloomy space once more, and a small hand that was pure white like jade suddenly stretched out. It seemed to intend to launch a sneak attack on Dustless. "You're courting death." Seeing this, Dustless sneered and suddenly grabbed with both hands. 10,000 mammoth heavens pull. Boom boom boom. The majestic gravitational force distorted the space, and a vortex appeared in the gloomy space. As Dustless's chakra continued to output, the deathly silent space distorted violently. Especially the position where the small white hand was, it was forcefully torn apart by Dustless. Any ability is pale in the face of absolute power. The chakra that erupted from Dustless's body became even more violent. The tiny black hole that erupted from his palm distorted the gloomy space in an even more ferocious manner. The faintly discernible vortex was also constantly expanding. Ka. In the end, it couldn't withstand the raging gravitational force and exploded like a mirror. What kind of freak is this guy? At this moment, even with Xiaoming's unshakable temperament, she couldn't help but rub her eyes. She thought that this was a ridiculous illusion that she had when she was sleeping. "It's time to call it a day." Looking at Xiaoming lazily, Dustless said, "You could still move just now because I went easy on you. After all, today is my wedding day. It's inauspicious to see blood, so surrender obediently." How shameless! Young Master Ming, who had been secretly observing, immediately pouted when she heard Dustless's words. She knew that Dustless had prepared a series of plans to kill Funyan. Now he actually said that it was inauspicious to see blood. His words didn't make sense. "You want me to surrender? Dream on." Xiaoming's eyes became colder. It was better to kill her than to surrender. Without any hesitation, she waved her hand lightly and an unparalleled sword attack whizzed out. If she lost, she would have to give Snow to Dustless. Xiaoming couldn't accept it. It wasn't that she cared about Snow. Anyway, her sword, Autumn Dragon, wasn't inferior to Snow in terms of power. The key point was that Snow represented too much. How could she give the sacred Taoist item to an outsider? Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The sword light swept out, and a sharp light stood out. Ridiculous. Dustless snorted contemptuously. His body emitted a bright light, and he completely ignored the sword attack. He used the elemental transformation of the glint fruit to turn a deaf ear to it. Poochie. The sword strike cut through Dustless's body, splitting it into two. It looked like he couldn't be any more dead. "He's finally dead." Xiaoming was overjoyed, and the corner of her mouth slightly raised. However, as the light condensed, Dustless's body instantly merged into one and returned to normal. Xiaoming's happy smile instantly became uglier than crying. "It's time to end it." Huatong instantly appeared beside Xiaoming. The high-density light compressed the heavenly sword of gathering clouds was pointed at Xiaoming's throat. The boring competition finally came to an end. "Keep it safe for me. I'll definitely take it back next time." After taking a deep breath and calming her emotions, Xiaoming threw Snow to Dustless in an extremely carefree manner. This action was also a disguised admission of defeat. Chapter 1931. Take it back. Hearing this, Dustless smiled without saying a word. Once something was in his hands, it would be impossible for it to be taken away. It was impossible for Xiaoming to take Snow back, unless Dustless took the initiative to give it to her. She lost just like that. Everyone was confused as they did not expect it to be so simple. The famous Xiaoming was defeated so easily, and it was a one-sided battle. This woman should know her place in the future. Wu Chen glanced at the expressionless Xiaoming. Although there was no fluctuation of emotion on her face, Wu Chen could still guess that she was actually furious in her heart. Snowcomb was not an ordinary sword. This sword was ranked 6th in the sword manual. It was a sword that had been passed down in Taoism for hundreds of years. Now that it had lost to Dustless, Xiaoming was naturally upset. Today's farce ends here. Everyone, please follow me to the cafeteria. The banquet is ready. Seeing that both parties had stopped, Moon Goddess recalled Dustless's plan and said unhappily, Dustless can go to the bridal chamber with young Master Ming. Goodbye, everyone. Hearing this, Dustless nodded and chatted with Fu Su and the rest for a while before leaving. Something is not right. This guy left home so quickly. It is definitely not the bridal chamber. Zhang Liang raised his eyebrows. He wanted to follow but could not get away as he still needed to deal with Moon Goddess. How is it? In a secret room in Mirage, Dustless looked at two people. They were Concubine Yan and young Master Ming. Taking advantage of the time, Dustless ordered the two to sneak into Zhao Gao and Li Si's residence to look for the lost Yellowstone Heavenly Book. Sorry, we did not find it. Concubine Yan and Great Master Ming looked at each other and gave an answer that disappointed Dustless. Forget it, there is no rush. Dustless did not want to dwell on this issue. He then looked at Great Master Ming and said, "How are your preparations? Are you confident? I have already told you about Zhang Liang's sword moves. How is your cultivation going?" Of course, I have no problem with such a small matter. Hearing this, Great Ming smiled faintly. Then, under Wu Chen's gaze, he suddenly put on a great show. Great Ming instantly turned into Zhang Liang. Swish. Swish. Not only that, Great Ming also took out a beautiful sword that was inlaid with jade. It was almost identical to Zhang Liang's sword, Ling Su. Young Ming even started to dance with it. The moves were all taught to Great Ming by Wu Chen. They were all moves that Zhang Liang usually used, so they were 80% similar. Good, well done. Seeing this, Dustless's eyes lit up. He grabbed Great Ming's waist and pulled her into his arms, ignoring Concubine Yan. He kissed her on the cheek excitedly. Later, you will disguise yourself as Zhang Liang and kill Fu Nian. Remember, you must let Fu Su and the others see it. Dustless said with a smirk. Just leave it to me. Being held in Dustless's arms, Great Ming squirmed for a while and realized that she could not break free. After all, she had already done that with Dustless, so why would she care about being hugged? Cough, cough, cough. Concubine Yan, on the other hand, coughed awkwardly. These two had completely ignored her existence. What are you coughing for? Concubine Yan, if you feel lonely, I have another leg for you. Dustless opened his left leg and patted it, indicating that Concubine Yan could sit on it at any time. As for his right leg, it was already occupied by Great Ming. Fletcher, I really don't know how someone like you can control the school of Yinyang. Concubine Yan snorted coldly to hide her awkwardness. Then she frowned and said, But Zhang Liang is with Fu Su and the others. How is Great Ming going to ambush them? That's simple. Hearing this, Dustless smiled calmly and said, Concubine Yan, later, go and secretly tell Zhang Liang that I have something to tell him. The content is that I am willing to help him recover Korea. That brat will definitely rush over without stopping. Great Ming will take this opportunity to kill Fu Nian, and then I will shift the blame to Zhang Liang. You are trying to kill him? Concubine Yan shook her head. Concubine Yan couldn't help but shake her head. If that was the case, Zhang Liang was doomed. Great Ming had eaten the magma fruit, and his strength was vastly different from before. It was inevitable that he would kill Fu Nian and disguise himself as Zhang Liang. As for Zhang Liang's moves, Great Ming had recently learned a few of them. First, he would beat Fu Nian half to death. Then he would use Zhang Liang's moves and Zhang Liang's sword to kill Fu Nian. After that, Dustless would take the opportunity to slander him. In that case, would Zhang Liang still have a way out? Time passed quickly, and about 2 hours later, the plan is about to start. He suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Concubine Yan and said, Go and call Zhang Liang over. Remember, don't let anyone see this. The content is what I said just now. I am willing to help him recover Korea. That brat Zhang Liang will definitely come over. As for Great Ming, take the opportunity to disguise as Zhang Liang and kill Fu Nian. Understood. Concubine Yan and Great Ming looked at each other and left the room to carry out their own tasks. A mere Zhang Liang wants to fight with me. Aren't you overestimating yourself a little too much? Dustless had countless ways to kill Zhang Liang. As for Zhang Liang, he didn't even have a chance to fight back. After this plan, Dustless would expel Zhang Liang from the Confucian school and let him live a life worse than death. Killing Zhang Liang would be letting him live in pain and endless hatred. This was the best way to take revenge on him. Chapter 1932. Is this really the only ending? Outside the cafeteria, Zhang Liang was drinking alone. He looked back at the joyous hall and felt uncomfortable. Even though he had mixed feelings, it was difficult to hide the bitterness in his heart. For a long time, Zhang Liang had been trying to pull the Confucians into the anti-Qin alliance. He had been working hard for this, but, as the saying goes, the ideal is too beautiful, but the reality is too harsh. Zhang Liang had encountered such a huge blow. Since he brought Dustless into the Confucians and led the wolf into the house, the good situation was gone forever. Zhang Liang had been living in the shadow that Dustless painstakingly weaved. Not only that, but he also lost his identity as the third master of the Confucians, and was replaced by Dustless. Mr. Zhang Liang. At this moment, a pleasant voice suddenly sounded. Zhang Liang was slightly stunned and turned his head to look. I didn't expect. I wonder why Concubine Yin is looking for me? The person who interrupted Zhang Liang was Concubine Yin from the Yin-Yang school. Zichen said that he has something important to discuss with you. Please come with me. Pointing to the corridor ahead, Concubine Yin made an inviting gesture. What's the matter? Hearing this, Zhang Liang was surprised. He didn't expect Dustless to take the initiative to look for him, especially sending Concubine Yin to pass the message. Zhang Liang felt that something was wrong. You didn't take the bait. Seeing Zhang Liang, who was nervous and slightly alert, Concubine Yin frowned. Then she remembered Dustless's plan and whispered. Zichen said that he is willing to help you recover Korea. What? Zhang Liang's first thought was that his brain was not enough. That ambitious and terrifying man suddenly changed his mind, and suddenly helped him recover his country? This is the truth. Seeing Zhang Liang's shocked expression, Concubine Yin tried to persuade him. To tell you the truth, Zichen has been uncomfortable with the Qin kingdom for a long time. He just didn't show it. Uncomfortable with the Qin kingdom. It was fine if she didn't say it. After this sentence, Zhang Liang was even more suspicious. Because whether it was the Yin-Yang school or young Master Fu Su, on the surface, they seemed to care about Dustless, and young Master Fu Su was the son of the Qin kingdom's emperor. What reason did Dustless have to be uncomfortable with the Qin kingdom? Zhang Liang didn't understand. It's Li Si from the Prime Minister Kingdom. He's been looking for an opportunity to take revenge on Zichen. I'm sure you've seen the competition before, right? Moon Goddess followed Dustless's instructions and explained everything in detail. That's true. Hearing this, Zhang Liang only nodded and reluctantly accepted Dustless's explanation. The relationship between Li Si and Dustless was very bad, even to the point that they were at loggerheads. Furthermore, Li Si was the Prime Minister of Qin State, an important minister of Qin Shi Huang. It was not easy to take revenge on him. Therefore, it was understandable that Dustless hated Qin State. All right, I'll go see Zichen. After some hesitation, Zhang Liang finally agreed and followed Concubine Yin to see Dustless. Idiot, when you come back later, it will be your time of misfortune. Seeing Zhang Liang leaving with Concubine Yin, Great Siming, who had been hiding in the dark, came out from the dark space and changed his appearance. He looked exactly like Zhang Liang. Since Dustless said that he was going to do his best to frame Zhang Liang, Great Siming had studied Zhang Liang's habits and imitated him in all aspects. First, it was his basic appearance and swordsmanship. Cough, cough, cough. After sorting out his thoughts, Great Siming, who was disguised as Zhang Liang, stepped into the cafeteria and walked straight to Fu Nian's seat. Yo, Zifang, you're finally here. Quick, take a seat. In the dull room, Dustless looked at Zhang Liang, who was brought by Concubine Yin. He pointed to the chair beside him and gestured for him to sit down. He even had a friendly smile on his face, but it was extremely terrifying in Zhang Liang's eyes. The Grim Reaper was smiling at you. What a terrifying thing. Speaking of which, didn't you and young Siming consummate their marriage? Zhang Liang, who felt that something was wrong, suddenly asked. At the same time, he looked at Dustless in disbelief. Who is this guy? Why is Yueshan acting like this? Zhang Liang looked at Yueshan, who was beside Dustless cautiously. This guy was like a guardian angel, standing still. Obviously, he was here to protect Dustless. Although it was unnecessary, he didn't need any protection. But Dustless was just an ordinary Confucian disciple. How could he let Yueshan be his bodyguard? This was too strange. He couldn't explain it at all. By the way, are you sure you want to help me recover Korea? Zhang Liang was too lazy to talk nonsense. He said emotionally, I'll be very grateful in the future. This is just a small problem. I have something to ask you now. Looking at Zhang Liang, Dustless suddenly asked with anticipation. Zifang, if Korea really recovers one day, who do you think is suitable to be the new king? Of course it's me. Zhang Liang. Without thinking, Zhang Liang said his name. Then, afraid that Dustless would misunderstand, he quickly explained, It can't be helped. All the royal descendants of Korea are dead now. Although Quicksand Qilian was the princess of Korea, that was a long time ago. I'm afraid no one knows her now. Plus, Qilian is a woman, so she's not suitable to be the king. After sorting out his thoughts, Dustless continued, Although Wei Zhuang is also a Korean noble, his identity is not suitable. If the people of Korea knew that their king was once an assassin, they would definitely resist. So you're more suitable to be the new king? Dustless asked calmly. That's right. Zhang Liang nodded seriously and said, Of course, I'm only the temporary king. If there's a suitable candidate one day, I'll follow the example of the sages and abdicate. That sounds better than a song. If you don't abdicate when the time comes, no one can do anything. It's all nonsense. I didn't expect this kid to be so talented at lying. Dustless sneered in his heart. He couldn't be bothered to argue with Zhang Liang. He just needed to stall for time. Chapter 1933. On the other side, Great Ming, who was disguised as Zhang Liang, had already made contact with Funyan, senior brother. Great Ming imitated Zhang Liang and said respectfully with both hands, Please excuse me for a moment. I have something important to discuss with you. Something important? Hearing this, Funyan touched his chin and looked at Zhang Liang strangely. He couldn't figure out what Zhang Liang was talking about. All right. However, due to his trust in Zhang Liang, Funyan didn't feel that there was anything wrong. Usually, everyone was like his own brother. Even though there was a lot of estrangement between them because of the marriage, the essence of being a disciple of Confucianism didn't change. Moreover, Zhang Liang was Funyan's junior brother. Huff, huff, huff. Outside the elusive mirage, the wind whistled and danced wildly. The chilly wind made people uncomfortable and covered their hearts with a layer of dark clouds. Zifang. What's the secret? About 20 to 30 meters away from the cafeteria, Funyan said in a deep voice, The two of us are sneaking around. It's inevitable that we will be suspected by others. If you have something to say it quickly. Hee. Zhang Liang laughed, but it was a completely different smile from the one he used to have. There was an unprecedented coldness in his smile. You. Zifang, where are you feeling unwell? Funyan frowned slightly. His impression of Zhang Liang was that he was gentle like jade, and was an out-and-out modest gentleman. He wasn't as scary as he was now. Senior brother, I am indeed feeling unwell, and I need a good medicine to cure my illness. In this world, you are the only one who can take out this medicine. Are you willing to save me? Zhang Liang asked without batting an eyelid. The fake Ling Su that was hidden under his long sleeves had already been drawn out. What do you mean? Is there such a strange disease in the world? Funyan was at a loss. He then gritted his teeth and said, We are senior brother. What disease do you have? Just say it. Then, hearing this, Zhang Liang's eyes suddenly narrowed. The chilling light in his eyes turned into a substantial murderous aura. The long sword hidden under his sleeve also shot out. Not good. Seeing this, Funyan's pupils suddenly shrank. He quickly retreated, but it was too late. Puchi. A bloody hole instantly appeared in Funyan's abdomen. The ice-cold longsword was rapidly devouring his vitality. Funyan's face instantly turned pale and powerless. If you are not Zifang, then who are you? Funyan clenched his teeth, and his eyes were bloodshot. Just now, he found it strange that Zhang Liang's murderous eyes and cold temperament that treated human life like grass were definitely not something that Zhang Liang could possess. Is that important? Zhang Liang looked at Great Sea Ming coldly. His tone was exactly the same as Zhang Liang's, but now it was Great Sea Ming. It's you. Fu Nian's face suddenly changed, and he asked angrily in a low voice. Yinyang School and Confucian School should have turned hostility into friendship. Why do you still want to attack me? Didn't Zichen have a marriage alliance with your Yinyang School? We're all on the same side. Haha, Zichen? One of their own? Your ignorance is laughable. After killing Fu Nian and completing the task given by Dustless, Great Sea Ming felt exceptionally relaxed. He sneered and said, "Since you are about to die, I might as well tell you that the so-called Zichen is Dustless, and the person who gave the order to kill you is him." You're talking nonsense. Hearing this, the corner of Fu Nian's mouth twitched, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Zichen was brought into Confucian School by Zifang. How could he lead a wolf into the house? It's even more impossible for him to collude with the rebels. But this is the truth. You know that Zhang Liang is only using the power of Confucian School to recover Korea. Why are you still deceiving yourself? Great Sea Ming, who was disguised as Zhang Liang, continued to attack Fu Nian. You know better than anyone what kind of person Zhang Liang is. Hearing this, Fu Nian smiled bitterly. Just like what Great Sea Ming said, he did know what kind of person Zhang Liang was. Confucian School's position in his heart was far inferior to Korea. Therefore, Zhang Liang secretly colluded with the rebels and let a wolf into the house. He has no reason to kill me. Everything I did was for his own good. Fu Nian clenched his fist, puzzled. He didn't feel that he had done anything wrong to Dustless, and even handed over the position of Confucian School to him. Stupid. Great Sea Ming looked at Fu Nian with disdain and sneered. You used Dustless, and you still dare to say that it's for his own good? You just used him as a tool for the marriage with the Yinyang School. Have you ever understood how others feel? By the way, Yin Lu, who went missing in Confucian School these few days, was also killed by that guy. Great Sea Ming's words were shocking. His words instantly aroused Fu Nian's hatred. He gritted his teeth and looked at Zhang Liang with hostility. He couldn't wait to swallow Zhang Liang alive. If he didn't lead a wolf into the house, how could Confucian School fall to such a state? Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. Fu Nian's eyes flickered with hatred. He suddenly opened his mouth and shouted, "Everyone, there's an assassin!" Fu Nian used his inner force to transmit this loud roar into everyone's ears. The guests who were eating in the cafeteria heard it clearly. You're going to be finished this time. Fu Nian smiled gloomily. However, Great Sea Ming, who was disguised as Zhang Liang, stabbed him with his sword without any expression. Pfft! With his heart destroyed, Fu Nian's life was completely drained in an instant. He fell to the ground with blood all over his body. Idiot! I can't wait for you to scream like that. Great Sea Ming, who was disguised as Zhang Liang, was extremely calm. He turned his head and looked at the guests who had already appeared. Fu Su and the others were all there. They were all dumbfounded when they saw Fu Nian lying in a pool of blood. Swish, swish, swish. Seeing that everyone was in a daze, Great Sea Ming, who was disguised as Zhang Liang, used the movement skill that Zhang Liang had once used. He retreated gracefully. Fu Nian is dead. The one who killed him is his junior brother, Zhang Liang. Chapter 1934. Almost everyone thought that the person who was retreating was Zhang Liang. His aura, movement and moves were exactly the same, so no one doubted it. The only thing that puzzled everyone was why Zhang Liang wanted to assassinate Fu Nian. After all, they were brothers. What kind of grudge did they have against each other that they had to fight to the death? Looks like Great Sea Ming's plan has been completed. On top of a tall building, there were no obstructions in the surroundings and the view was excellent. The actions of Fu Su and the others were all seen by the moon goddess. Cough, cough, cough. At this moment, the moon god coughed twice with a strange look in her eyes. It's done so quickly? It went smoother than I expected. Seeing this, Wu Chen chuckled. He had only fooled Zhang Liang for a few minutes, And this guy had already been smashed by his sugar-coated bullet to the point where he couldn't find his bearings. All right, that's it. Dustless looked at Zhang Liang and said coldly, "You little brat, you can get lost now." Huh. Zhang Liang's face fell. Dustless wasn't like this just now. He was talking about the future territory of Korea with him. Why did he suddenly change his attitude? What do you mean? Zhang Liang looked at Wu Chun in confusion. His eyes were filled with anger. Wu Chun suddenly turned hostile and refused to acknowledge him. Zhang Liang had a feeling that he had been fooled. "I asked you to get lost. Don't you understand human language? The elusive mirage is my territory." Dustless looked at the moon god and waved his hand impatiently. "Moon god, please send him off." "You." Zhang Liang looked at Dustless angrily and asked in a deep voice, "You said you would help me restore Korea? You don't want to admit it now? Treachery is not something a Confucian disciple would do." Confucius said. T. Confucius said. He interrupted Zhang Liang rudely. Looking at the angry look on this guy's face, he was probably going to talk about the teachings of the sage again. What a blockhead. The sage and the Confucius said could solve all problems. The Confucians had already used their mouth to conquer the world. There wouldn't have been the spring and autumn warring states period that lasted for hundreds of years. You heard the leader's words. Please, Mr. Zhang Liang. Please don't make things difficult for me. Moon God expressionlessly stood in front of Zhang Liang. Although she spoke politely, her heart was full of disdain. Everyone knew that the Confucian school was pedantic. It's a small world. There's still a long way to go. Just wait and see. After taking a few deep breaths of the icy cold air, Zhang Liang angrily flicked his sleeve and left. The instant he turned around, Zhang Liang's face flushed red. His entire body was filled with a chill that penetrated his heart. It was deathly silent and filled with despair. Sect Master? The moon goddess addressed Dustless as Cult Master. How was this possible? Could this guy be the leader of the school of Yinyang? Zhang Liang's brain cells spun rapidly, thinking about the true identity of Dustless. From the corner of his eye, he secretly glanced at Dustless's movements. Seeing his evil smile, Zhang Liang cursed inwardly and subconsciously quickened his pace. He seemed to have fallen into the big pit designed by Dustless again. Damn it, I was naive enough to believe Dustless's nonsense. Zhang Liang cursed inwardly and hurriedly walked to the place where they had gathered for dinner. After a while he passed through the corridors and saw a large number of people gathered in the distance. His heart became more and more uneasy. Get out of the way. Zhang Liang hurriedly crowded into the crowd. When he saw Fu Nian lying in the blood wave, his whole person instantly became sluggish and motionless. Zhang Liang would never forget Fu Nian's unreconciled eyes. Which bastard killed eldest senior brother? The furious roar spread to the sky. Zhang Liang's temperament changed greatly. His elegant temperament was like being possessed by a demon, and his whole body was overflowing with an ominous murderous aura. How dare you, Zhang Liang? Seeing this, Li Si was so angry that he laughed and angrily rebuked. We all saw you kill Fu Nian with our own eyes. How dare you talk about others? Do you think we are all blind? This is outrageous. No matter how arrogant you are, you can't be like this. Zhao Gao, take Zhang Liang down for me. Nonsense. After being stunned for a moment, Zhang Liang immediately refuted loudly. I have no enmity with eldest senior brother. Why would I kill him? Li Si, don't think that just because you are the prime minister, everyone's eyes are clear. Zhang Liang's words were pleasant to hear, but as soon as he finished speaking, he was collectively slapped in the face. Have the Confucians already reached such a level of shamelessness? Xiao Meng looked at Zhang Liang and said disdainfully, I saw you kill Fu Nian with my own eyes. Now you want to deny it? Zhang Liang, give me an explanation. Fu Su also looked at Zhang Liang unkindly. What is this situation? Seeing this, Zhang Liang was instantly petrified. He felt like crying but had no tears. After talking nonsense with Dustless for so long, he came back and became the murderer? How lively! At this moment, Dustless's voice also sounded, full of ridicule and schadenfreude. Zichen, explain to them clearly. I didn't kill eldest senior brother Fu Nian. I was chatting with you just now. Zhang Liang hurriedly looked at Dustless for help, waiting for his rescue. Ha! Dustless's face was blank and naive. He immediately said seriously, "Don't talk nonsense. I was having a wedding night with young Master Ming, who was chatting with you." Hearing this, Zhang Liang suddenly spat out a mouthful of old blood. He was so angry at Dustless's words that he suffered internal injuries. Do you have to be so shameless? Even if you talk nonsense, you can't be so unscrupulous. You will get someone killed. Zichen, you despicable and filthy villain. How dare you plot to frame me? Zhang Liang's mouth was full of blood. His expression was like that of a ghost as he locked onto Dustless. His bones were creaking from anger. At this point, Zhang Liang finally understood why this guy was stalling for time. At the same time, he also understood that the culprit of Fu Nian's death was Dustless. However, what made Zhang Liang furious was that he had no evidence. Moreover, he was currently like a clay bodhisattva crossing a river, unable to protect himself. Chapter 1935. Zhang Liang was enraged and wished for nothing more than to dismember Dustless into 1,000 pieces in his heart. This fellow clearly knew that he was innocent, yet deliberately deceived him. His intentions were hateful. Zichen, you are deliberately framing me. Since they had already shed all pretense of cordiality, Zhang Liang no longer cared about his image. He was so furious that his hair stood on end as he roared sternly. Previously, you secretly invited me over to discuss the revival of the empire. In short, you invited me over. Zhang Liang did not have the courage to mention the revival of Korea. After all, Li Si, Fu Su and Zhao Gao were still present. Wouldn't he be courting death if he said it? Why would I invite you? Please don't talk nonsense. Zifang, I was with young Master Ming the whole time. Dustless looked at young Master Ming, whose face was covered by a veil, and asked with a smile, "Am I right, young Master Ming?" Yes. Although young Master Ming's tone was very light, everyone heard it clearly. "You bastard, I will kill you." Hearing this, Zhang Liang, who could not bear it anymore, no longer spoke nonsense. He pulled out his sword from its scabbard and pointed the cold sword light at Dustless's eyes. Zhang Liang's face was filled with madness. Everyone had a bottom line in their heart. Once their reverse scale was touched, everyone would be like Zhang Liang, who couldn't control himself. Young Master Fu Su, this bastard Zhang Liang wants to kill you. He is so vicious that he won't even let his own senior brother go. I am useless for the Confucian school to have such a bastard. Dustless moved to Fu Su's side with a face full of shame and shame. You bastard. Ugh, Zhang Liang, who couldn't bear the blow, spat out another mouthful of blood. He was so angry with Wu Chen that his head was stuffy. This bastard was obviously talking about himself. The person who killed Fu Nian was obviously Wu Chen. But sadly, even though Zhang Liang's heart was as clear as a mirror, no one believed what he said. All right. Zhang Liang suddenly looked at the cold concubine Yan and said angrily, "This woman invited me. She said that Zichen was looking for me, so I went over." As soon as he said that, everyone looked at concubine Yan expectantly. However, concubine Yan's answer made Zhang Liang collapse. Who are you? Concubine Yan stared at Zhang Liang as if she didn't know him. You bunch of despicable and shameless people. Seeing this, Zhang Liang's face instantly turned as pale as snow. There were no witnesses and no evidence. On the contrary, Wu Chen's side had all the advantages. There were witnesses and evidence. Zhang Liang knew that he would definitely be the scapegoat today. I also misjudged him. Fu Su nodded in agreement and looked at Zhang Liang with disdain. How did he get to know such a beast dressed in human clothing? If you want to fight with me, I'll kill you. Seeing the gloomy Zhang Liang, Dustless felt extremely pleased. Then, under the astonished gazes of the crowd, he sternly shouted, Zhang Liang Zhang Zifang, you traitor of the scholarly faction. Today, as the third master of the scholarly faction, I will expel you from the scholarly faction. I will temporarily take over as the head of the scholarly faction. Who do you think you are? Hearing this, Zhang Liang immediately retorted. It was not Dustless's turn to have the final say in this matter. Eldest senior brother Fu Nian has been killed by you. Second senior brother Yen Lu's whereabouts are unknown. Uncle Master Sun has been plotted against by a traitor. I have to be responsible for the entire scholarly faction. Dustless said matter-of-factly. Sun Zi had been assassinated by Zhao Gao and the others. As for Fu Nian and Yen Lu, they were both dead. Wouldn't they be counting on him, the third master? All of this is your scheme. Zhang Liang roared loudly. His tone was sharp and ear-piercing. Although Zhang Liang didn't know where Yen Lu had gone, he was sure that it had something to do with Dustless. At that time, Yen Lu had disappeared after coming to the Mirage. From the conversation with Yueshan, Zhang Liang learned that Dustless was Donghuang Tai. The entire Yinyang school was under Dustless's control. If all of this wasn't his scheme, who else could it be? Men, take down Zhang Liang. Fu Su looked at Zhang Liang expressionlessly. Then he glanced at the 6 sword slaves behind Zhao Gao. This won't do. If Zhang Liang is captured by Zhao Gao and Li Si will inevitably find out the details of my scheme from Zhang Liang. I can't let Zhang Liang be captured alive. Dustless's eyes were rolling. As the saying went, there was no wall in the world that didn't have a crack. If Zhang Liang, the main culprit of this scheme, died, no one would know the truth behind it. However, if he was caught by Zhao Gao's trap, he would inevitably get some unnecessary information. Cough, cough, cough. After coughing lightly, Dustless looked at concubine Yen and Yueshan. Seeing this, the two of them looked at each other and immediately understood Dustless's intention. Before the 6 sword slaves could make a move, they attacked Zhang Liang at the same time. How dare you kill someone in our Yinyang school's territory? You have guts. Outsiders, please don't interfere. Yueshan's words contained a warning, which made Zhao Gao and Li Si frown. Young master. Li Si and Zhao Gao had no choice but to look at Fu Su. Fu Su just shook his head gently, indicating that they didn't need to meddle in other people's business. Just leave it to the Yinyang school. Damn it, I don't have any chance of winning. Zhang Liang was unwilling to give up. Seeing Yueshan and concubine Yin closing in, the pressure on him increased exponentially. Even if he couldn't win against one of them, 2 against 1, wasn't it suicide? Therefore, under the shocked gazes of the crowd, Zhang Liang made a shocking decision. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. With the fastest speed in his life, Zhang Liang pounced to the side of the boat. Then he decisively jumped into the sea. Chapter 1936. Jumping into the sea. This sudden scene caused everyone to be stunned. They didn't expect Zhang Liang to be so carefree and actually jump into the sea. This unyielding spirit that would rather die was truly admirable. Damn it. Concubine Yen and Yueshan looked at each other helplessly. No one expected Zhang Liang to jump into the sea. They looked at Dustless apologetically. That's good. Seeing this, Dustless didn't feel much. No matter what, Zhang Liang can do anything as long as he doesn't get caught by Zhao Gao. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At the same time, a sharp piercing sound came from the void. Even Wu Chen could not help but frown at the ear-piercing roar. What's that? Everyone stared at the falling flash of light in shock. Li Si and the others were terrified. Is that a meteor? Compared to the panicked Li Si and the others, Dustless was much calmer. To put it bluntly, it was a very ordinary celestial phenomenon. But in the eyes of Fu Su and the others, it was different. Boom, boom, boom. In the end, the meteorite unavoidably landed near Shanghai. Even from several thousand feet away, or even further away, one could still feel the violent tremors. Even the Mirage, which was far away from the land, could feel the slight vibration. Huge ripples were visible to the naked eye on the surface of the water. It seems that this meteorite is not small. It caused such a big commotion. Ordinary people couldn't see it clearly, but for Dustless, who has the Tensigan, the situation in the distance was clear at a glance. Grandmaster Zicheng, a natural disaster is coming. Goodbye. Fu Su's face was pale white. Such an unprecedented calamity might shake the foundations of the empire. Some people with ulterior motives might even use this rare chance to fan the flames. Go do your work. Hearing this, Dustless nodded and looked at Yueshan, signaling her to dock the Mirage as soon as possible. Time passed quickly and left quickly. About an hour later, all the guests left quietly. Everyone had different expressions on their faces. But the final winner was undoubtedly Dustless. What a great harvest today. Dustless sighed emotionally. He touched the body of Snowji and smiled strangely. Find a blacksmith and carve a few words on Snowji for Xiaoming. Engraving words. The moon god, concubine Yan, great Ximing, and young Ximing were all speechless. Snow was ranked 6th in the sword scroll, which was enough to prove how extraordinary it was. Wouldn't carving the words on it ruin this peerless sword? What words? The moon goddess and the others couldn't help but ask curiously. Let me think. Dustless lowered his head and rubbed his chin. After thinking for a while he said, Xiaoming of the Death Heaven sect. Puchi. Hearing this, even the moon goddess, who was always calm and collected, could not help but chuckle. If Dustless really did that, Xiaoming would probably fly into a rage out of humiliation and kill her way to his door. How should we deal with Zhang Liang? Great Ximing asked. Don't be fooled by his angry look. Zhang Liang is actually a meticulous person. He might have done that on purpose just now. He might be enjoying himself somewhere right now. Don't worry about that brat. Zhang Liang has been expelled from the Confucian school by me. His reputation is ruined. What can he do? Dustless acted casually. Then he said lazily, Actually, I think it's more interesting this way. If Zhang Liang dies, wouldn't it be a waste of his talent? What a man with a bad taste. The moon goddess saw Dustless's expression and said doubtfully, I've been observing the stars for the past few days. The meteor just now doesn't seem to be as simple as it seems. Really? What do you think is different? A glint of surprise flashed in Dustless's eyes. He looked at the moon goddess with anticipation. This is a sign of evil. Concubine Yin looked serious and then said helplessly, The moon goddess and I are not as good at astrology as Dong Huangtai. If it's him, he will definitely know what's going on. The meteor just now was indeed different. There were words written on it. Dustless said shockingly, Qin is dead and who is dead? This is what was written on the meteor. Do you think the moon goddess and I are 3-year-old kids? Concubine Yin looked at Dustless with a strange expression. If you don't believe me, you can go and ask around. Wu Chen shrugged his shoulders. He remembered this matter clearly, and there was absolutely no mistake. Qin is dead and who is dead? The moon goddess lowered her head and guessed. Then she said doubtfully, You mean the barbarians in the north? They are indeed brave and good at fighting. They are the biggest threat to the Qin kingdom. No. Dustless shook his finger and immediately denied the moon goddess's point of view. He said, Other than Fu Su, Yingzheng also has a talented and smart son. His name is Hu Hai. Li Si and Zhao Gao worked hard to destroy Fu Su. They wanted to help Hu Hai take the throne. Dustless muttered to himself, but in the end they did succeed. They were really good at colluding with each other. They killed Fu Su. How do you know this? Imperial concubine Yan and Moon God opened their eyes wide. Fu Su was still alive and kicking. Do I need to tell you? Of course I know astrology too. I learned it from it. Even Dong Huangtai is not as good as me. I can guarantee the accuracy. Dustless found a random excuse. Although it was just nonsense, it was the truth. In history, Fu Su was killed by Zhao Gao and Li Si. Chapter 1937. Near the coast of Sangxi, boom, boom, boom. On the calm surface of the water, waves that were several meters high suddenly rose. Then strange-looking mechanical monsters came out of the water, and there were several human figures among them. Everyone, what do you plan to do? Zhang Liang stared at the figures in front of him. They were Old Man Ban, Dao Ji, Wei Zhuang, Gunia, and the others of the school of Mo. I didn't expect Dustless to be the leader of the school of Yinyang. Old Man Ban sighed. His staunch ally had suddenly become an unprecedented enemy. Not only was Old Man Ban caught off guard, but the school of Mo also found it difficult to accept. When he had first stepped into the mirage, Zhang Liang had secretly ordered the school of Mo to assist him. It had to be said that his foresight had saved his life. That guy is a great enemy of quicksand. I was the first to agree to deal with him. Wei Zhuang's face was cold. Because of Dustless, quicksand had suffered heavy losses. Now only Qi Lian, Baifeng, and the Black Qilin were left. The other members had all been slaughtered, and the instigator was Dustless. But how do we take revenge on Dustless? He's the leader of the school of Yinyang, and now he controls the Confucian school. We have no place to start. That guy is like a hedgehog with thorns all over his body. Daoji said with a headache. He couldn't think of any loopholes in Dustless' plan. Leave this to me. Zhang Liang's face flashed with hatred. He hated Dustless to the bone. This guy had framed him for no reason, causing him to lose his reputation and become a stray dog. How could Zhang Liang hold a grudge against him? Everyone, don't forget that he's still using the identity of Ziqin. We can spread his true identity as Dustless. When that time comes, that guy will have to bear the consequences. Even the school of Yinyang will be unlucky. Zhang Liang smiled sinisterly, a rare joy on his face. His bright eyes seemed to have already seen Dustless's unlucky appearance. Prime Minister, are you sure you want to do this? Zhao Gao looked at Li Si in a daze. He didn't expect that this Prime Minister, who seemed to be hiding his strength, would be no less than a fugitive when he went crazy. According to the development of the original work, Zhao Gao and Li Si were still in cahoots. However, with the sudden addition of Dustless as an enemy, the two of them coincidentally joined forces, sending an assassin to pretend to kill Dustless and frame the school of Yinyang. Although it can drive a wedge between Fusu and Dustless, it's more troublesome than I thought. Zhao Gao was slightly worried. Although Li Si had boarded his pirate ship, Zhao Gao was hesitant to take such a risk. If he failed, the blow would be fatal. He even dared to assassinate Fusu. Once the truth was exposed, his entire family would be executed. Don't worry. Li Si calmly waved his hand and said calmly, the original intention of assassinating Fusu was to frame the Yinyang school, not to truly kill him. Also, how is the preparation of that thing going? That thing? Zhao Gao frowned and then took out a crudely made token and asked, Prime Minister, are you talking about the Farmer Party's Shinong token? That's right. Li Si nodded and took the Shinong token from Zhao Gao's hand. He then laughed sinisterly. If on this Shinong token, there's the words the one who kills Ziqin is the next hero of the Farmer Party, what do you think that kid will do? Both sides had a grudge for a long time, and Li Si didn't have any hopes of turning hostility into friendship. This is a great plan. Without even thinking, Li Si nodded and said coldly, this way, Ziqin will face endless pursuit. We can also use this chance to destroy the Farmer Party. In Mulberry Sea City, the wall that was usually filled with wanted posters was now filled with people. Look, isn't that the third head of the Confucian school, Mr. Zhang Liang? Who said he isn't? Why is he wanted? And such a frightening bounty, 200,000 gold taels. What evil thing did he do? Who knows? Look, Zhang Liang's crimes are written at the bottom of the wanted poster. This damned scum actually killed his senior brother Fu Nian. He doesn't deserve to be a human. The passers-by were all dumbfounded as they stared at the shocking bounty. Without exception, all of them revealed shocked expressions. They had never heard of such a sky-high bounty. Subsequently, when they saw Zhang Liang's crime, all of them were filled with righteous indignation and cursed Zhang Liang for being cold-hearted. How sad. Dustless, who happened to pass by, glanced at the bounty and suddenly sneered. Life is like a dream, a dream. Concubine Yan, who followed Dustless, also sighed. A while ago, Zhang Liang was still the third head of the Confucian school. He had offended Dustless and was condemned by everyone as a villain. This is not a dream, but the result of overestimating himself. Dustless glanced at Concubine Yan, and then slowly walked to the little sage manor. From now on, he was the only master there. At this moment, Concubine Yan's eyebrows suddenly blinked. She turned her head and looked at the crowd behind her. She asked, was it my illusion just now? I always felt that there were a few hidden eyes watching our movements. It's not an illusion. Dustless responded flatly, and then said with great dissatisfaction, it's just that some idiots who overestimate themselves are following us. This is the street, so it's not good to do it. Let's find a place where there are fewer people to kill. It's really bad luck. It's rare to come out when I'm in a good mood. There are always some self-righteous stalkers. I see. Concubine Yin nodded slightly and immediately sensed carefully. She found that the spying eyes had drifted away. But the mysterious person who is following us is a good master. His concealment skills are very good. That's not important. The people he is following are actually more terrible, Dustless answered coldly. Chapter 1938. Two figures were walking slowly in the back mountain of the Sage Manor. The environment is not bad. The scenery is beautiful. The footsteps suddenly stopped. Wu Chen admired the emerald shrubs around him with a faint smile on his face. The picturesque scenery made people indulge in it. The air was permeated with the fragrance of nature. A slight sniff would make people feel refreshed. Such a beautiful scenery is suitable for a graveyard. At this moment, a cold and low shout that was filled with killing intent suddenly resounded in Wu Chen's ears. Immediately, a few burly men leaped out from the forest. You are, seeing the mysterious people staring at him fiercely, Dustless asked, Guys, we don't seem to have any grudges. Why are you attacking me? Before fighting, it was necessary to know what they were here for. Since you are about to die, I will tell you the reason. The burly man who was obviously the leader stepped forward and said sternly, We are the Lai Mountain Hall of the Farmers' Clan. I am Tianmeng, the hall master of the Lai Mountain Hall. The Farmers' Clan? Dustless frowned and said, I don't have any grudges with you. Did the Farmers' Clan get the wrong person? Dustless had always been the one to find others to be his scapegoat. There was no way he would be the scapegoat for someone else. Also, this Tianmeng seems familiar. As Wu Chen's thoughts turned back, a tragic figure quickly appeared in his mind. That person died quite miserably. Tianmeng, the hall master of the Lai Mountain Hall of the Farmers' Clan. In the original work, he was assassinated by Zhao Gao's Luo. Zhao Gao blamed his death on Gunye and Wei Zhuang. However, although Tianmeng was dead, he had a good daughter named Tianyan. She was soft on the outside but tough on the inside. She was known as the Farmers' Clan #1 think tank. After Tianmeng was killed and the competition for the title of Farmers' Clan #1 hero began, she became the target of all the clan halls. Later, she formed an alliance with Chiyu Hall and Gonggong Hall, and became the hall master of the Lai Mountain Hall. We don't have any grudges with each other, but Tianmeng looked at Dustless ferociously and said in a cold voice, Recently, the Shennong order has reappeared in Jianghu. And there is a paragraph of words. The one who kills Zichen of the Confucian school will be the next hero of the School of Agriculture. I see. Dustless suddenly understood and muttered softly. In order to deal with me, Zhao Gao and Li Si really put in a lot of effort. They even used something like the Shennong order. In the original work, Zhao Gao used the Shennong order to reappear in Jianghu. His intention was to let the farmers kill each other and weaken their strength. But who would have thought that the spearhead would change at this moment to kill Dustless? Any last words? Tianmeng's eyes lit up as he looked at Dustless. He said excitedly with victory in his hands. If you don't have it, then let me kill you. I am determined to become the next hero of the Farmers' Guild. Dying in such a beautiful place is not a loss for you, kid. Swish. Swish. As soon as Tianmeng's voice fell, his body flashed over. There are so many people who overestimate themselves. Dustless crossed his hands in his wide sleeves. It seemed that he did not intend to do it himself. Go to hell. Seeing that Dustless was not moving, Tianmeng immediately swooped down with his long sword. Buzz. However, at this moment, Concubine Yin made her move. A burst of bright light burst out from her body. The dazzling light burst out powerfully. Caw, caw, caw. A loud and clear cry resounded through the sky. A lifelike three-legged golden crow appeared in an instant. Its wings flapped and it swooped down toward Tianmeng. What the hell is this? Tianmeng was shocked. He instinctively stabbed the sharp sword in his hand. Crack! Unexpectedly, the three-legged golden crow's ability was quite extraordinary. It gently opened its mouth and easily crushed the long sword in Tianmeng's hand. It was extremely powerful. Caw, caw, caw. The three-legged golden crow screamed again. A violent shock wave burst out from its body. It swooped straight toward Tianmeng, who was in a daze. It looked arrogant, and its sharp cry was full of confidence. How dare a beast be so arrogant? How dare you? Tianmeng, who had come back to his senses, was furious. He did not expect to be looked down upon by a beast. He was instantly furious. A burst of powerful inner force burst out from his body. How boring. Dustless glanced at Tianmeng in boredom. He simply turned around and left. Although Tianmeng's strength was not bad, and was not weaker than the black warrior Sheng-Chi, Dustless was not interested in him at all. Concubine Yin would just play with him. As for Dustless himself, he walked lazily toward the little sage manor. It's really strange. There are usually people guarding the back door. Why is there no one at all now? After easily invading the interior of the little sage manor, Dustless raised his head to look for people. Although the back door was not the main door, there were usually many people guarding it. But at this moment, there was no one at all. This guy's whereabouts are suspicious. He must be up to no good for the Confucian school. That's right. Maybe he's a spy from another sect. Catch him quickly. We can't let him run away. Hand him over to Grand Master Dukhen for interrogation. Under the thick and dense willow tree, a group of Confucian disciples surrounded a figure. They looked at him like hungry wolves. From time to time, they would show expressions of hatred. Recently, the Confucian school had been quite unlucky. First, the little sage manor was burned down. Then, Funyan was killed. Yin Lu went missing. Zhang Liang was also expelled from the Confucian school. Even Sun Zi was killed. Now only Dustless was left in the little sage manor. He had the most authority. You stinking brats, hurry up and go back to study. Do you want to be beaten? Dustless warned sternly. The group of Confucian disciples was immediately terrified. They were like frightened migratory birds. They fled in panic and disappeared without a trace in an instant. Really, seeing this, Dustless snorted softly. Then, he looked at the figure surrounded and was suddenly stunned. It's you? Aren't you recuperating in the Mahist stronghold? Why did you suddenly come to the Confucian school? The weak girl who was surrounded was Shirlan. However, her condition was not right. There was black gas rolling between her eyebrows, and her breath was very weak. Chapter 1939. In a daze, Shirlan seemed to have heard Dustless's shout and opened her eyes. After confirming that Shirlan was fine, Dustless heaved a sigh of relief. Looking at the haggard Shirlan, he gently laid her down and leaned her against the thick willow tree. Only then did Dustless calmly ask, "How do you feel? Why do you look so pale?" "Those people from the Mo family wanted to harm you. I quickly rushed over to inform you, but..." At this point, Shirlan's tone faintly sighed and was filled with disappointment. "But they had many experts. If not for Miss Rong helping me escape, I might have been captured." Hearing this, Dustless did not speak. Then he asked in confusion, "According to my understanding of the Mo family, they should not have made things difficult for you, even if they knew my true identity." The true master of the Yinyang school. Looking at Dustless, Shirlan continued, "At first I was fine. Then I heard their plan by chance and Zhang Liang suggested to kill me. It's that hypocritical brat again. I knew that he wasn't a good person." Hearing this, Wu Chen snorted softly and immediately carried Shirlan in his arms. "Bastard! What are you trying to do in broad daylight?" Shirlan looked at Dustless in panic and instinctively resisted. "Calm down." Dustless speechlessly glanced at Shirlan and comforted her. "I'm just carrying you back. Don't misunderstand. I'm not a hypocritical gigolo like Zhang Liang." "Yes." Staring at Wu Chen's clear eyes, Shirlan reluctantly nodded her head after noticing his clear eyes. "Speaking of which, how has Snow Girl been recently?" While carrying Shirlan, Dustless slowly walked to his room. Ever since Gao Jianli's death, she has been greatly affected. Hearing this, Shirlan hesitated for a moment before revealing the truth. You're taking it for granted. Ever since they found out that you are the Donghuang Tai of the Inyang school, the Mo family has imprisoned everyone close to you. I understand. Dustless only nodded faintly. He was not surprised. If it was him, he would have done the same. What's the situation with Rong? Dustless changed the topic and asked about Duanmu Rong. Is she also imprisoned by the Mo family? At first they didn't. They only restricted Miss Rong's movements, but later. At this point, Sherlan sighed in self-reproach. After I eavesdropped on Zhang Liang's plan, I was discovered. In order to cover my retreat, Miss Rong fought with the Mo family. I'm afraid it was very dangerous. Plan? What kind of plan is it? Dustless asked calmly. He also wanted to know what kind of sinister plan it was. Zhang Liang said that he was going to expose your true identity. When the Qin state knows that you are Dustless, Yingzheng will be so angry that he will arrest the whole school of Inyang. Sherlan voiced out Zhang Liang's thoughts, but who would have thought that Dustless would just laugh it off? Childish and pedantic. Dustless snorted disdainfully. He quickened his pace and sent Sherlan back to her room to rest. Speaking of which, don't you need to rescue Miss Rong and Snow Lady? They might be in danger. Seeing Dustless so calm, Sherlan was anxious and worried. After all, Duanmu Rong was stalling for time with her life. There's no need to rush. There are two sides to everything. Even though Rong, and the Snow Lady's freedom is restricted, there's still a good side. Furthermore, according to my estimations, the Mo family won't kill people for no reason. Dustless was calm and composed. His words confused Sherlan. She could not understand what Dustless was talking about. Is it a good thing that Miss Rong was arrested? You are so strange sometimes. Sherlan continued to ask. The Mo family is not the Mo family of the past. A cornered dog will jump over a wall. Jump over a wall. Dustless rolled his eyes and said casually, even if I lent them 100 guts, no one would dare to kill Rong. The Mo family knows about my relationship with her. If they kill Rong, I will definitely take revenge. They won't dare to provoke me. Furthermore, Wu Chen's eyes revealed a deep light. He said with a smile, strong wind knows strong grass. I should have told you just now that everything has a bad side and a good side. Only when encountering a great disaster, human nature will be revealed. Although it is very dangerous to have their freedom restricted, Rong, and Snow Lady can use this opportunity to see the Mo family's true colors. They will completely abandon their last hope for the Mo family and wholeheartedly seek refuge with me. Isn't that a good side? After Sherlan heard this, she nodded and said softly, it seems to make sense. Just rest well. Don't worry about anything else. Dustless left Sherlan in his Confucian residence and gave her a few more instructions. Then he closed the door and left. He strolled alone on a small path in the forest. Lord Dustless. At this moment, Concubine Yin suddenly appeared and stood in front of Dustless with a respectful expression. You're back? So fast. Dustless was slightly stunned when he heard this. He looked at Concubine Yin in surprise and then asked, you killed all the disciples of the School of Agriculture? Yes, I killed all of them. Concubine Yin nodded. Just as she was about to report the details, Dustless attacked her. Then, you can go to hell too. Dustless, with a long sword in his hand, pounced on her and said with a sinister smile, your disguise is really good, but I forgot to tell you that Concubine Yin never calls me Lord, or anything like that. Idiot. Also, she wouldn't look at me with such respect. Chapter 1940. This damn smiling tiger. Hearing this, Concubine Yan's face turned cloudy and dark. She quickly dodged to the side. Retreat now. Black smoke rose from her body, and Concubine Yan showed her true form. She turned into a mysterious man in a black robe, and no one could tell what she looked like. You want to retreat in front of me? If you can escape, it's because I'm going easy on you. But I'm in a bad mood now, so I'd better ask you to die here. Seeing the mysterious man running fast, Dustless knew who he was. Black Kylan from Countercurrent Sand. You were lucky that I didn't kill you last time. Do you want God to bless you again? You don't think you're God's illegitimate son, do you? There was a hint of mockery and contempt in his words. Dustless suddenly raised his right hand, and a high-density flash condensed. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The destructive edge wrapped around his thumb, and then Dustless locked onto the black Kylan's position. He flicked his finger. Whoosh, whoosh. The subtle light suddenly turned into a straight beam of light, and it approached the black Kylan's body in an instant. Poof! The beam of light was fatal, and it penetrated his head in an instant. You bastard, how dare you kill me? Lord Weizhuang will never let you go, Dustless. After saying this with all his strength, the ink Qilin fell to the ground lifelessly. A nobody should have the awareness of a nobody, be ready to die at any time. Dustless didn't even look at the black Kylan's body. A long time ago, this guy had failed to assassinate him once. He really didn't understand where his confidence came from this time. Who is this? At the same time, Concubine Yen arrived late. Seeing the black Kylan's head penetrated, she took a closer look. Is he the black Kylan under Weizhuang's command? The black Kylan was quite famous, so it was reasonable that Concubine Yen had an impression of him. As you can see, this arrogant guy is here to assassinate me again. Dustless scoffed at the black Kylan's self-righteous self-confidence. Did it really think that it could deceive everyone? How did you deal with the kids from the Farmers Guild? Looking into Dustless's eyes, Dustless asked curiously. It would be best to kill them all. Tianming escaped under the cover of a few of his men. He was also seriously injured. As for the others he brought with him, I killed them all. Concubine Yen said calmly. That brat Tianming ran away? Dustless frowned a few times. He had planned to kill Tianming to establish his authority, so that the Farmers Guild would not be able to cause trouble every day. They were pathetically stupid to be used by Zhao Gao. Since they were farmers, why didn't they just farm properly? Why did they have to come out and court death? That Tianming is the leader of the Lai Mountain Hall of the School of Agriculture. Killing him will cause big problems. Concubine Yin expressed her thoughts. The 100 schools of thought are the best among the disciples of the School of Agriculture. They have a lot of disciples. So what? Dustless asked indifferently. Concubine Yin, their internal conflicts are very intense. Some of them have even reached the point of killing each other. Even if the School of Agriculture is as strong as an iron board, do you think they can pose a threat to us? You think too highly of them. Dustless did not hide his contempt in his words. It was not that Dustless looked down on the School of Agriculture. If they were as strong as an iron board, the destructive power of tens of thousands of disciples would be beyond doubt. The key was that the School of Agriculture was also independent and had their own quirks. This kind of power would definitely be destroyed by others in the future. That makes sense. After thinking about it carefully, Concubine Yin nodded slightly. The School of Agriculture was powerful, but the School of Yinyang was even more exaggerated. Remember, if you meet anyone from the School of Agriculture who dares to provoke us, kill them all. Damn it, that damn woman. Rushing back to the barren mountains of the School of Agriculture, Tianmeng's face was extremely pale. He spat out blood and looked very pale. In the fight just now, Concubine Yin had easily injured him. You are very lucky to be able to come back alive from Concubine Yan's attack. It seems that you have some strength. At this moment, an unexpected voice suddenly came from behind. Tianming turned around and saw Zhao Gao, who seemed to be strolling leisurely, and the 6 sword slaves. You are Zhao Gao from the Luonet? As the hall master of the Lai Mountain Hall, Tianming naturally had good eyesight. He recognized Zhao Gao's identity in an instant. What do you want from me? The School of Agriculture has nothing to do with your Luonet. Tianming took a deep breath and looked at Zhao Gao warily. One was the most loyal dog of the Qin Kingdom, and the other was a member of the Anti-Qin Alliance. Naturally, the two sides were like fire and water. Nothing to do with you? That's not right. We have a great relationship. Zhao Gao looked at Tianming gloomily and smiled maliciously. The Shenong Order of the School of Agriculture was issued by me. How dare you say that it has nothing to do with me? So it was you. Why did you issue such a vicious order? That Zichen is not an ordinary person. Hearing that, Tianming's heart skipped a beat. He knew that things were not going well. If he were an ordinary person, would he need the School of Agriculture? Stupid. Tianming, you will die here now. The other members of the Lai Mountain Hall of the School of Agriculture will definitely think that it was Zichen who did it. They will definitely be irreconcilable. He waved his hand, and the 6 sword slaves behind him immediately pounced on Tianming. Puff, puff, puff. The 6 sword slaves cooperated closely. In just a few breaths, Tianming had been severely injured by the 6 sword slaves and fell into a pool of blood. Chapter 1941. Seriously, for such a small fry, you even troubled me to personally make a trip. You deserve to die, right? Zhao Gao glanced at Tianming, who had died unwillingly, and muttered to himself, "The 6 halls of the School of Agriculture. Try your best to put on a happy and serious performance." In reality, Zhao Gao did not expect the School of Agriculture to defeat Zichen. After all, there was still the Yinyang School and the scattered Confucian School behind him. Let's go. Time flew by, and 3 days later, Tianming's death was unavoidably discovered by the School of Agriculture disciples. After all, he had died on the way back to the School of Agriculture. After only 2 hours, Tianming's body was discovered by the School of Agriculture disciples. That damn Zichen, he must have done it. That brat actually dared to kill Big Brother. I will definitely tear him into pieces and feed his corpse to the dogs. That will satisfy the hatred in my heart. In Tianming's morning hall, a young man with an eye patch and a domineering appearance was so angry that he wanted to tear Dustless apart alive. This person was Tianming's second brother, Tianhu. "Second uncle, please be careful. This is father's morning hall. Do not make a ruckus." The delicate and weak young girl with a pale and weak face frowned slightly when she saw Tianhu's condescending manner, and said with displeasure. A strange light flashed across the eyes of this seemingly delicate girl. She was Tianming's daughter, Tianyan. Ever since Tianming was assassinated, she had inherited his position as the hall master of the School of Agriculture. Hearing this, Tianhu was stunned for a moment. Only then did his fiery temper subside. However, his face was still gloomy and filled with hatred. If this was not Tianming's morning hall, he would definitely continue to be angry. I have been rude. However, I also feel sorry for Big Brother's death. You can rest assured that I will deal with this Zichen. Tianhu's eyes were filled with killing intent. He was indeed like his name, a ferocious and capable tiger. Young miss, don't be angry. This is also to avenge the dead hall master Tianming. A pair of shifty eyes had been quietly observing this scene. Noticing that the atmosphere had become somewhat awkward, he stepped out to mediate. If you want to avenge the dead hall master of Lieshan Hall, you must unify the 6 halls of the School of Agriculture. That brat Zichen's background is too strong. With just the strength of our Gonggong Hall and Chiyu Hall, it's not enough to deal with him. After all, that brat has the School of Yinyang and Confucianism standing behind him. The person who spoke was the hall master of the Gonggong Hall, Tianzhong. This fellow had shifty eyes, and his eyes were very bright. He seemed to be the type of person who would be easily swayed by the wind. He didn't seem to be reliable at all. Second uncle, father's death. I never said that it was Zichen's doing. There's still something fishy about this matter. Tianyan, who was guarding Tianming's coffin, suddenly had a strange light in his eyes. It was as if he could see through everything, and the truth behind it also surfaced. To put it bluntly, you still want to become the new hero leader. Hearing Tianzhong's words, Tianyan's expression didn't change, but he didn't take it seriously in his heart. Tianhu's previous words sounded nice. He wanted to avenge his father, Tianming, but in the end it was still for his own sake. He just wanted to become the hero leader. The place where the School of Agriculture disciples found father's death is our School of Agriculture's territory. If Zichen really killed father, he shouldn't have died there. Tianyan paused for a moment and whispered to himself. Also, I've carefully examined father's body. There were 2 different kinds of attacks. One of them was caused by a sharp weapon. This is the root cause of father's death. The second kind of attack is similar to the moves used by the school of Inyang. In other words, the real culprit behind Big Brother's death might have been framed by the school of Inyang? Hearing this, Tianhu frowned. Now that things had come to this point, if he still didn't understand, then he would be an idiot or a retard. That should be the case. Tianyin nodded and continued to explain. When Zichen came down from the mirage, a few School of Agriculture disciples happened to pass by and found a woman from the School of Inyang following behind him. I think she was the one who attacked father. Although the injury was serious, it didn't cause father's death. The real cause of father's death was the sword wound later on. There's such a shocking inside story. After hearing this, Tianhu asked in disbelief. Then who do you think is the real culprit who killed Big Brother? When Big Brother's body was brought back, I heard from a few subordinates that there were sword wounds all over his body. Moreover, they were all extremely fatal. It was as if he was born to kill people. The wounds were all aimed at the vital parts. That's right. Tianyin nodded and then said seriously, father was killed by a sword expert in an instant. He was killed on the spot almost without any strength to fight back. There are only two people who can do such a thing. One is Zichen of the Confucian school. I heard that his strength is extremely terrifying and unfathomable. As for the other one, a cold killing intent flashed in Tianyan's eyes. It can only be the slave of 6 swords of Zhao Gao. If Wu Chun or Zhao Gao were here, they would definitely be full of praise for Tianyan. She narrated the battle between Tian Meng and concubine Yan, as well as the process of the slave of 6 swords killing Tian Meng. Although there were some discrepancies in some places, it was commendable that she could analyze it so meticulously. Even so, our Chiyu Hall, Gonggong Hall, and Lai Mountain Hall still have to work together. Whether it's Zhao Gao or Dustless, we can deal with them calmly. Tianhu changed the topic and mentioned the alliance again. It was not difficult to see that he was wholeheartedly aiming for the position of hero chief. Chapter 1942. Tianyin did not have a good impression of her second uncle. In the end, he was just jackals of the same tribe as Zhao Gao. He was not a good person. To put it bluntly, he only wanted the position of hero chief. It was worth mentioning that Tianyin also knew that her father, Tian Meng, also wanted to assassinate Dustless for the position of hero chief. Tianhu also wanted the position of hero chief. Although they called each other brothers, there was only one Dustless. Naturally, they would have to fight in the future. Although Tianhu's words were better than a song, saying that he wanted to avenge his father, in reality, he was hiding evil intentions. People from the farmer's family are unreliable. Tianyin frowned and could not help but think of a way out. Even if it was not for herself, she had to think of her only remaining brother. If it's an alliance, I agree. After thinking about it, Tianyin finally chose to agree to Tianhu's request. If she refused, this guy might do something desperate, and that would be terrible. To some extent, if she wanted to win the position of hero chief, it was destined that the hall masters of the other halls were potential enemies. Tianhu might take the opportunity to annex her Lai Mountain Hall. Haha, that's what I've been waiting for. Hearing this, Tianhu was overjoyed. He immediately said excitedly, if that's the case, the position of hero chief will be ours. Chiyu Hall, Gonggong Hall, and Lai Mountain Hall will join forces. How can that kid Zichen not die? Ha! Everyone, you're talking too much about me. At this moment, a voice filled with endless charm quietly sounded. The voice was like poison, causing everyone to be stunned. They all followed the source of the voice. A mature woman with a seductive appearance and seductive charm suddenly appeared in front of them. Hall Master of Kuei Ming Hall, Tianmi? Seeing the mysterious woman who suddenly appeared, Tianzhong and Tianhu frowned. The former said coldly, it's early in the morning and the weasel has come to pay a visit to the chicken. What an unlucky year. On the other hand, Tianyin remained calm. It was as if he had already met Tianmi who had come uninvited. Ayaya, Tianhu, your mouth is really poisonous. Why don't you have the spirit of a man? Tianmi leisurely blew out a smoke ring and chuckled. Besides, I'm not here to give you a New Year's greeting. Besides, under the same interests, a weasel and a chicken can also join hands to fight the enemy. We should change what we said just now. If the four of us join forces, will that brat Zichen still have a chance to survive? Life is truly unpredictable. I didn't expect Dustless to be Donghuang Tai from the school of Inyang. In the Mo family's stronghold, the Snow Lady and Duanmu Rong were locked up by the Mo family's people. The Snow Lady's face was especially bitter and bleak as the sunlight shone in through the window. Little Gao was killed by Xing Hun from the Inyang school. Did Dustless instruct him to do this? The Snow Lady clenched her fists as her face was filled with hatred. No, it definitely wasn't Dustless's doing. Duanmu Rong immediately refuted. Whether or not it was Dustless, she had to find an excuse for Dustless. I also believe that it wasn't him, but... The Snow Lady's eyes dimmed. No matter what, it was a fact that Dustless was the mastermind behind the school of Inyang. The two of us are in a very bad situation now. It doesn't matter who killed little Gao. After we escape from this cage, we can just find Dustless and ask him face to face. Duanmu Rong patted the Snow Lady's shoulder and consoled her. You're right. The Snow Lady nodded as a look of disgust flashed across her face. In the past, I really liked the Mo family and gave everything I had to them. But now I hate the Mo family to death. Just because we're close to Dustless, they locked us up without any reason. The wind knew the strongest grass. At a critical moment, a person's true nature would surface. Don't worry, Snow Lady. We still have a chance to see the light of day again. Duanmu Rong gave the Snow Lady an encouraging smile and said softly, since the Mo family didn't kill us, it means that we're still useful. Don't think too much. Just wait quietly. At the same time, in another direction, Dustless also did something he had never done before. Teams of Golden Fire Cavalry were gathering. There were about 700 to 800 of them. They formed a huge black mass, and there was almost no end to it. Are you sure you want to destroy the Mo family? Seeing the endless Golden Fire Cavalry, the higher-ups of the school of Inyang appeared at the Confucian school's Little Sage Manor. Young Master Ming, Great Master Ming, Concubine Yen Moon Goddess, and Dustless were also there. And this time, they were targeting the traitors of the Mo family. That's right. In the past, I planned to use the Astral Soul to destroy the Mo family. However, it seems like there's no need for that now. Since Zhang Liang already knows that I'm the mastermind behind the school of Inyang, all my previous plans have gone down the drain. I've been playing the Infernal Bureau for so long. It's time to put an end to it. Since they had fallen out, Dustless naturally wouldn't hold back. Moreover, Duanmu Rong and the Snow Lady were still locked up by the Mo family. Even though he was sure that the Mo family wouldn't do anything to harm the two ladies, it was better to be safe than sorry. When he heard that Dustless was willing to destroy the Mo family, Li Si generously lent a few hundred Golden Fire Cavalry to Dustless. Although Dustless was the enemy, Lu Sha, the Mo family, and the other traitors of the empire were also enemies. If Dustless was willing to destroy them personally, Li Si would naturally be more than willing to do so. The person who did the work was Dustless. In the end, the credit went to Li Si. How could he not agree? Chapter 1943. Li Si was happy to see this. After all, he was the one who lent the Golden Fire Cavalry to Dustless. When the time came, he would get a lot of credit. Even if the attack failed, it would have nothing to do with Li Si. The leader would be Dustless. So if Dustless failed, Li Si could stay out of it. He could even attack Dustless and make Fu Suji offend him. If Dustless succeeded, then Li Si, who lent the Golden Fire Cavalry to Dustless, would get a lot of credit. One had to admit that Li Si was a very comprehensive person. He was always on the side that was beneficial to him. Let's go. Chen Wuchen and the others got on their black horses and left Mulberry Sea City in a grandiose manner. The moment such a large group of people appeared, the Mahist clan noticed it. Do the Mahist have to guard against me like this? Dustless, who was sitting on the horse, suddenly sighed and said regretfully, Tianming and Xiaoyu are really fast. When I was studying in the Little Saint Manor, Tianming was always late for class. This is the first time I have seen him run so fast, especially when it comes to running for his life. That kid is really good at everything. On the night that Dustless's identity was exposed, Tianming and Xiaoyu secretly disappeared in the Little Saint Manor. They are just two kids. Even if I let them live, they won't do any harm to me. Why did they have to run away? How pedantic. All the land under the sky is the king's land. All the land under the sky is the king's subject. Where did they think they could run to? Dustless couldn't help but laugh. Some people always like to take things for granted. Those two kids are Ing Zheng's enemies. Yueshan was also riding on the horse beside Dustless. Behind them were Concubine Yan and the others. Behind them were the Golden Fire Cavalry of the Qin Kingdom. Of course, these soldiers were just there to scare people. For experts, these Gold Fire Cavalrymen were of little use. Take Sword Saint Gunia for example. Under the encirclement of 500 Qin soldiers, he managed to carve out a bloody path with Tianming. This time, the Mahis were surrounded by Wei Zhuang's quicksand and many other experts. It was impossible for the Gold Fire Cavalrymen to wipe them out. Secondly, the forces responsible for annihilating the enemies were Dustless, the Moon Goddess, Great Master Ming, Young Master Ming, and East Lord Yan Fei of the School of Yinyang. An enemy of Ing Zheng? This has nothing to do with me. Dustless answered indifferently. There was no conflict of interest between him and Ing Zheng, and that was why both of them could stand on the same side. If there was a conflict of interest one day, then sorry, he would have no choice but to kill the first emperor in history. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. As soon as the large group stepped out of Mulberry Sea City, a gust of wind suddenly blew through the void. Flocks of migratory birds streaked across the horizon, and pure white feathers drifted down from the sky. Everyone looked at the feathers that were falling from the sky. They were at a loss as to what to do. The Golden Fire Cavalrymen of Qin State were even more confused. They were the powerful cavalrymen used by Ing Zheng to attack cities, but to be honest, they were not very good at dealing with Jianghu sorcerers. This was exactly what the saying, "Do not meddle in politics when you are not in your position," meant. This is Bai Feng of Lusha. A strange gleam flickered in young Master Ming's eyes. Her watery eyes stared at Dustless's back quietly. Her eyes, which were usually cold in the face of everything, were now filled with some warmth. "I'm afraid he is loitering nearby, spying on us. There's no need." Dustless waved his hand and interrupted young Master Ming. He was too lazy to waste time. "I know Bai Feng is spying on us, but let him be. It's impossible for a group of several hundred people to hide. Let nature take its course. Let's just attack Imo clan in such a grandiose manner. Let's see if those people can ascend to the sky. What's the use of spying on us? I'm going to raid your lair in broad daylight, so what? Let's move on." With a wave of his hand, Dustless and the others moved forward with all their might, approaching the depths of the mountain. Before his identity was exposed, Dustless used to go to Imo clan's stronghold frequently, so he was very familiar with their location. Therefore, with a spy like Dustless leading the way, the Qin army rushed to Imo clan's stronghold effortlessly. Boom, boom, boom. Groups of Golden Fire cavalrymen from Qin State were running wildly. The entire valley was shaking and dust was rising. One had to admit that the Golden Fire cavalrymen of Qin State were very impactful. "Oh right, did you bring that brat Xinghan?" Dustless suddenly looked at Great Sea Ming and asked. "Nothing must happen to that brat. He is my scapegoat. He is in the carriage behind us. He is chained up. There is no way he can escape." At the same time, in Imo clan's stronghold. "Are you sure, young Master Bai Feng?" In the depths of the underground, Imo clan had dug a complicated tunnel. Master Ban looked at Bai Feng, who was leaning against the wall. He was the one who went out to gather information. "Dustless is leading the Golden Fire cavalrymen here. I estimate that there are about 700 to 800 of them." Bai Feng glanced at Master Ban indifferently and fell silent. "Is that so?" Hearing this, Master Ban sighed with emotion. He looked at the dense array of mechanical beasts behind him and said helplessly, "If possible, I really don't want to use it on my former allies." Recently, Master Ban and the other disciples of Mo clan had created many mechanical white tigers to resist the Qin army. Of course, the white tigers were not the only important part. Roar! 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 In the deepest part of the tunnel, faint dragon roars could be heard from time to time. It was full of deterrence and made people submit to it involuntarily. Looking over, it was a huge mechanical green dragon. Just like what Ing Zheng said before, Mo clan did not use the mechanical green dragon in the past because they did not find a suitable opportunity. Now the opportunity was here. Chapter 1944. Boom. 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 The extremely oppressive dragon roar seeped into one's soul, and even Bai Feng could not help but frown. She recalled the moment when the mechanical green dragon broke out from the Mo family's mechanical city, and everything began to burn. It annihilated the entire Qin army, and goosebumps appeared on her body. Wherever the mechanical green dragon passed by, everything would be burned to ashes. It was simply the synonym of a natural disaster, not to mention the mechanical white tiger army. Looks like there's a good show to watch this time. Hee hee hee. An enchanting laughter rang out from the darkness. Bai Feng and Master Ban looked towards the source of the laughter, and saw flowing sand crimson drill. Only a small number of Mo family disciples and quicksand members were left in the Mo family's stronghold. Most of the others had secretly left through the tunnel. One could not put all their eggs in one basket. Anyone could understand this logic. I really did not expect Dustless to be the leader of the school of Yin Yang. Interesting. Sometimes, the truth is just so laughable and realistic. Speaking of which, how much time do they have left? Qi Lian sighed with emotion before he looked at Bai Feng. About an hour? Bai Feng looked up calmly at Qi Lian before lowering her head again. Her eyes flashed and no one knew what she was thinking. About? How can you give me a rough estimate of such important information? Continue to gather information about the enemy for me. Qi Lian reprimanded Bai Feng loudly as he glared angrily at her. As for Master Ban, he was fiddling with the mechanical beasts as if nothing had happened. Many of the Mo family disciples had already started to control the mechanical white tigers. However, what made Qi Lian even more furious was that Bai Feng treated her like air and ignored her. She did not even look at her. You're ignoring my orders? Qi Lian's face was cold as she slowly pulled out the soft sword at her waist. Orders. Bai Feng suddenly opened her eyes. In a flash, she appeared in front of Qi Lian. While Qi Lian was in a daze, her legs suddenly swept out with unstoppable force. Bang. Even though Crimson Viper crossed his arms in front of his chest to defend himself, he was still kicked back by the powerful force. He almost lost his balance and fell. Qi Lian, watch your tone. You don't have the qualifications to order me around. Bai Feng glanced coldly at Qi Lian before she grunted coldly, flicked her sleeve, and left. You're the same as me. You're just someone who was abandoned by Wei Zhuang to be used as a rear guard. Bai Feng finally disappeared after saying that. Stupid. Qi Lian looked at Bai Feng's back with ridicule and contempt. He sneered inwardly. Sorry, Bai Feng. You are the only one who has been abandoned. I still have a trump card to survive. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, a quarter of an hour had passed. The Mo family really knows how to choose their location. Looking at the surrounding terrain, Great Ming had a feeling. This place was surrounded by mountains, and there was only one way to go. If they were to ambush the enemy, they would have a great advantage as it was easy to defend and hard to attack. Unfortunately, it's all in the past now. Dustless casually responded to Great Ming. He sneered inwardly. After offending me, you still want to establish yourself under the sky? It's better for the Mo family to meet in the underworld. Screech. At this moment, the crisp cries of beasts resounded through the clouds. Following that, the sky suddenly turned dark. The Qin soldiers, including Dustless and the Yin Yang school of thought, looked up at the sky. What's that? A big white bird? This is the first time I've seen such a big bird. Look, there's someone standing on it. He seems to be the one who was monitoring our movements at the beginning. Where are the archers? Shoot him down for me. The Qin soldiers scrambled to be the first to shout. Soon after, they took out their bows and arrows and shot them into the sky. Countless arrows were shot into the sky. Swoosh! Although there were so many arrows that it was dazzling, only a small number of them managed to hit the white phoenix. However, it was not very effective. The white phoenix under his feet was extremely fast, and it could easily dodge the arrows. Screech! Bai Feng easily crushed the attack of the Qin soldiers. Bai Feng was riding on a big white bird, the white phoenix. It let out a crisp cry from its huge beak, as if it was mocking the people on land. The human heart is not what it used to be. It's fine that people are getting more and more sinister and cunning. But what's going on these days? Why is even the leader of the birds so arrogant? Dustless was speechless. When he saw Bai Feng's cold face, he sneered. Do you need me to shoot him down? Great Ximing came over and recommended herself. As she had consumed the magma fruit, her strength had already been enhanced. No need. Let me do it. You've eaten the magma fruit for less than a month. You don't know some moves yet. Dustless shook his head and refused. He focused on Bai Feng in the sky and a murderous smile appeared on his face. 90 Black Coffin of Breaking Tao. Swoosh! Wu Chen's words were as mysterious as a magic trick. The moment he finished speaking, countless black rays appeared in the void. The powerful force actually caused the void to distort. The evil black rays pulsed with a deadly sharpness. Not to mention Bai Feng, who was targeted for attack, even the moon deity was alarmed. Ift. The unparalleled shadowless evil blade instantly pierced through the white phoenix, not even leaving behind a corpse. The white phoenix was directly cut into pieces by the incomparably powerful light, and every part of its body was cut into pieces. Chapter 1945. The gigantic white phoenix's corpse was torn to shreds, turning into blood-red fragments that filled the air. The ground was littered with blood-stained chunks of flesh. As for Bai Feng herself, the instant the black coffin attacked, she realized that something was amiss. She decisively jumped down in advance. Only then was she able to avoid the misfortune of being sliced apart. However, what a pity! Looking at the pieces of meat all over the ground, Wu Chun groaned in dissatisfaction. I originally wanted to suppress my strength as much as possible. I just wanted to kill it. Who would have thought that I used too much strength and turned into a pile of powder? What's the difference? It's already dead. Why do you care about the situation? The moon god and the others looked at each other, not knowing what Dustless was complaining about. Of course it's different, Dustless said in a very distressed tone. I originally planned to try my best to suppress the power and preserve the bird's body as completely as possible. Who would have thought that it would end up like this? It's really a pity. To be honest, this is the first time I've seen such a big bird. I really want to try roasting it. Hearing this, the higher-ups of the school of Yin Yang almost fell off their horses. So this was why Dustless said it was a pity. He thought that the white phoenix tasted good. Who knew that it would still be shredded into pieces? Glancing at the pieces of meat on the ground, Dustless said to himself, I have to say this bird is really lucky. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. All of a sudden, a loud sound came from the front, followed by a sky full of feathers. You're asking for death. Seeing this, before Wu Chen could do anything, Xiao Ximing waved her slim fingers. Following her move, groups of green leaves swarmed over from all directions. Afterward, Xiao Ximing threw a cold glance at those incoming feathers, then flicked those leaves out of her fingers. Clang, clang, clang. Like darts colliding with hidden weapons, the moment the green leaf and the feather came into contact, bright sparks immediately splashed out, and an ear-piercing roar resounded incessantly. However, the outcome was almost one-sided. The emerald green leaf almost massacred all the feathers in the sky. Young Arbiter Ming, you've grown stronger. Moon God mumbled to herself. She instinctively looked at the calm Dustless. She was afraid that it had something to do with this mysterious man. After all, young Master Ming was Dustless's wife. How could he not help her? It was the same for Great Ximing. Both of them who had physical contact with Dustless had their strengths greatly improved. After a while, a large number of feathers disappeared. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Everything returned to normal. Right in front of them, a handsome young master dressed in white came into view. It was none other than Bai Feng, who was completely unscathed but had an ashen complexion. Damn it! Recalling the tragic scene of White Phoenix being torn to shreds, White Phoenix gnashed her teeth in anger. Her gaze was as cold as a knife as she stared at the instigator of all this, Dustless. Don't look at me with such a ferocious gaze. I'm actually very sad about the tragic death of your mount. You have to understand that I'm still hungry. This is the first time I've seen such a big bird. I really wanted to eat it. Unfortunately, it turned into a pile of minced meat in the end. What a pity. Dustless showed an extremely disappointed expression. But now it seems like your mount isn't the lucky one. Dustless glanced at White Phoenix, who was dressed in bright clothes, and said coldly, "Your luck is equally amazing. You're actually unscathed. You're worthy of praise." The moment the black coffin struck, Bai Feng instinctively jumped off the White Phoenix and avoided the fate of being dismembered. Luck. White Phoenix frowned. Then she said proudly, "I think it's because of my strength." "And you?" Bai Feng's gaze locked onto Wu Chen's body. His brows suddenly furrowed together. He looked around and suddenly realized that Wu Chen had disappeared from his line of sight. "Do you think you have the right to talk about strength in front of me?" A dead and hoarse voice reverberated behind her. White Phoenix turned her head and saw Dustless's cold face and the fatal blade light. Pfft. Even though she retreated immediately, Dustless's speed was still too fast. Even though White Phoenix was known for her speed, she did not have any advantage in front of Dustless. A conspicuous burn mark appeared on her abdomen. Cough, cough, cough. Bai Feng coughed violently after being severely injured by Dustless in an instant. She widened her eyes and looked at this expressionless man. His strength had completely refreshed White Phoenix's understanding of him. "When I say that you're lucky, it's because of your luck. It's not because of your strength." A dazzling light gathered at the tip of his finger. Dustless raised his eyes and looked at White Phoenix, who was drenched in cold sweat. Then he said softly, "Die in peace." Laser shot. A straight ray of light shot out from his finger and shot towards White Phoenix. "You want to kill me? Dream on." Seeing the incoming ray of light, White Phoenix stomped hard on the ground and used all her strength to avoid the ray. She managed to retreat more than 10 meters away in time. Boom, boom, boom. The place that was attacked by Dustless suddenly set off a violent explosion. The ground was burned to a pitch black. Cough, cough. Let's retreat for now. Bai Feng looked at Dustless fearfully. Just as she was about to retreat, she suddenly felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. Boiling heat instantly spread throughout her body. This is... She lowered her head and saw that her abdomen had been penetrated by a magma fist. Don't forget that you still have the Yinyang school behind you. Great Ming looked at the stunned White Phoenix in disdain. Then he increased the output of the magma, and the boiling magma instantly swallowed White Phoenix. The quicksand White Phoenix would die at this moment. You're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.